and welcome back to the Film Appreciation Podcast. I am your host, Nick, and as always, I am joined by my ever excellent
No,
They're getting worse,
co-host.
Nick.
he's in the alliteration now. Though.
That could get really epic.
If it's just like you're just doing alliteration, I feel like you should prepare it before you say
No,
it.
should have started with A.
I think there's something excellent about the fact that it's off the cuff.
again.
I might just keep saying excellent.
The whole like
podcast.
episode is just talking, starting every sentence with the letter E.
I mean, we might have started a new tradition. I should say that this is Isaac and Marlon. Isaac and Marlon are here. That's who you guys are. I didn't even get to say
Yes.
it.
We are the guests.
I didn't even get to say it.
Guests
Oh,
is
guest
a,
co-hosts.
My
co-hosts.
co-hosts are Isaac and Marlon.
I feel
They
like
cut me off.
I feel like a guest in this beautiful room.
Anyway, the point is,
we're at the beach.
Yeah.
I know.
Isaac and I aren't going anywhere. So,
You'd hope not.
That is true.
Imagine next episode is just Nick sitting here. He's like,
By
so
himself."
guys, welcome to my podcast.
They vanished.
so we've had a falling out.
Yeah. We're not on speaking terms. Anyway, people don't care. What they care about is absolute cinema. And my God, do we have some cinema for you guys today. So, first film we're going to talk about is something that a lot of people have seen. It's done pretty well at the box office. Challenges, directed by Luca Guadagnino, starring the not well-known Zendaya and a couple of other dudes, Josh O'Connor and Mike Feist. I don't know. I'm not even going to try. It is essentially about tennis and romance. It is a romance tennis movie, although they don't really love each other that much. It's a very toxic relationship here.
Yes.
Essentially, you've got two dudes, two mates,
Best friends, one could say.
best friends, and they meet Zendaya, and as any normal dudes would do, they all try and like get with her, and it just completely tears up the friendship, and it's a huge shit show disaster. And the whole film is framed around a rematch between these guys years later, and you sort of flash back often either 10 days before or sometimes 10 years before. It kind of varies. And you learn about kind of these three characters and what happened with them and their story. And I guess it's a very complex character study, really. That's what it's more about. I definitely wouldn't call it like a sports movie, although it does a really good job at representing tennis, which is not really in movies. So
Well,
what did we think?
I think my favorite review of this movie is someone's got like one line. They just say everything is sex except sex, which is tennis. And I think that encapsulates the movie.
It low-key kind of does, because that's kind of the message at the end, in a way, a little bit. I mean, it's more personal to Zendaya's character, I feel like, the ending, which I don't think we'll start at the ending.
No.
We'll sort of, let's just start with overview. What did you guys think? What did you feel about the film?
I found it refreshing how well it was made for a romance film
Yeah.
today. A lot of them are relatively low effort and sort of there to just, make a profit. And it does something different. That's what I enjoyed the most about this film is it's a relatively new, not necessarily concept or story, but the way they've merged sport with romance is exciting and it's fresh. And tennis, is such an intense sport. I think it fits perfectly.
Definitely.
I found the structure as well quite interesting. Breaking it up the way they did was a lot of fun. I think at times it felt that they were maybe getting away from the game for too long. But in the end, I thought it did come together quite nicely. So I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. I mean, it's, as you were saying, like, not a typical sort of directional production of a film like this. And that's, you just got to look at Luca Guadagnino, who's an absolute boss filmmaker. I mean, he made Call Me By Your Name, which was a really well-made film.
One of our old friends' favorites, might I say.
Yeah, that's another story. So there was Suspiria, which I haven't seen, but that's like a horror movie. And then there was Bones and All, which was another beautifully made film and also another horror movie, really sort of creepy and disturbing.
Is that about traveling down south?
It's like a cannibal one, isn't it?
It's like a road trip, and it's also a love story between these two, and they're cannibals and kill a bunch of people, and it's really horrific.
It's my kind of story.
It's a fun time.
You don't really sort of expect someone like Luca Guadagnino, who's been so versed in horror and doing all these weird horror movies, to make something like this. But I think that's why he was the perfect person for it, because he brings such a fresh perspective. And like, I thought this movie was like amazingly shot and really well edited, and I didn't really expect it to be like that at all. I guess I went in with really low expectations, and I was sort of really surprised by the technical quality of the film.
There were some really interesting shots. Like, it was the way that they shot the tennis game was very creative, because you could imagine if they just filmed tennis in a way that could be very boring.
Like a television broadcast.
Yeah, they just did it. Actually, that was the thing though. Like when they first had the game, it was like
the scores.
had it from the side. It was such a bizarre thing to watch tennis that way, because I've only ever watched tennis from like the up view from behind. So being like at the side and close was like really weird, because you're actually having to go like.
Well, I know you've gone to a lot of tennis games.
Yeah.
Where I imagine you watch it from the side.
You do.
Sometimes.
Most
of
of the time, yes.
Yeah, so Isaac and I would never have done that.
Yeah, like
I've never
that.
watched a game of tennis in my life in
Right.
person. Because you've got one right next to...
Yeah, where I live opposite a huge tennis center. So
Yes.
every year I tend to go and
sleep
watch.
on the court.
I do not do that. But yeah, I mean, I see games every single day, because when I look out my window, I can see all like the practice courts and stuff. And my mum used to be when she was younger, a professional tennis player.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a true story. That's
a crazy thing to drop on the podcast.
That is an actual true thing.
We're just
you're not gonna.
accidentally doxing
What was
Nick
our
at the moment.
ranking?
I don't remember. She wasn't very high.
Could
I
you
mean,
beat Serena Williams?
I don't think so. She
Ridiculous
she
question.
just sort of like when she was like in her 20s would play in Europe and stuff.
Wow.
She never played in the Grand Slams or anything.
Could
like
she beat
that, but
Tashi?
Could she beat Tashi?
An injured one, maybe.
An injured Tashi, yes. I reckon honestly, maybe. I don't know.
Well, she was only.
Let's make it happen.
She never got past like 18, so
Yeah.
she probably never was like. She was obviously good for
She
her
was a
age.
talent. One could say she was the Isaac Bowie of tennis.
Oh,
what
because
does
I
that
didn't get
imply?
injured though. I just.
The reason I brought that up was because was for me to say that I know quite a bit about tennis,
Yes.
and actually was kind of very excited to watch a film about it, because I fully understood everything that was happening and all the rules and stuff, and I thought it had a fantastic representation of the game on screen. And I was going to say as well, I appreciated that the film didn't care to kind of go nuts and be a bit goofy, especially towards the end. Like there's a lot of really intense slow-mo shots
Yeah.
of like a guy catching a ball, and it
Or
could
like his
almost
face dripping with
it's like
sweat.
anime
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
Well, there's that excellent shot towards the end where it's under the court.
Yeah,
Do you remember
Yeah.
that?
that's
Yeah.
right.
I think the creativity increases.
Camera being the ball. I feel
Yeah,
like
exactly.
I feel
That
like
was
he was. They
intense.
would have sat down there and thought, "What is the coolest stuff we could do?" And they just kept listing it and going, "We're doing that. We're doing that. We're doing that."
And it works.
And it's not like yeah, what the hell are you guys doing? It's like yeah.
It's not over the top
I think the movie
in the wrong way.
the way that the movie like flows though, it almost it doesn't feel out of place. It's not like why the hell is this crazy camera shit going on now? It really fits that sort of. I don't even know how to explain it, but the mood of the film fits with the camera techniques that they use.
Well, it's. I mean, the rematch at the end is the most intense part of the film, because it's been building the whole way, and their entire lives essentially is built up to this point. At least for Patrick and Art, who are interesting characters, which we'll get into. But it makes sense that the tennis being filmed gets crazier and crazier, or more intense, or
Yeah, as the
More
game gets
different.
more intense as well.
yeah, the game is their life.
And as you get more within the story of like what like behind this tennis match, it becomes a lot more like the editing becomes a lot more interesting, and I think that's very intentional.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a thing that I really respect about it is it seems to sort of make that connection about how quote unquote intimate tennis can really be, because it's obviously an individual sport, and so much of it is mind games, and if
Yeah.
you're in the wrong or right state of mind, that's it.
Yeah,
That's sort of the same thing. I mean, that's the same thing with all sports, but when you do an individual sport, I mean, same thing with boxing.
yeah.
Like the fighter going in, if he's of a poorer mindset than his opponent, if he's not as confident,
And the respect you have for your opponent is different. Like with a team sport, there's a group identity, so you sort of go like, these guys suck.
Yeah.
Even if they're not terrible people. Whereas with like a boxing match, after the fight, it's like generally they dap each other up and like they have respect.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same with tennis. You know, they always at the end of it.
Oh, no matter how long,
Yeah.
like, you know, you see Federer and Djokovic or whoever, or Nadal, you know, they play 6-hour matches, and then as soon as it's over, they still go over and shake each other's hand immediately, you know, no matter what's happened.
Yeah.
There's a lot of respect
Kyrgios,
there.
on the other hand.
Yes, well, he hasn't he retired? I mean, bloody
Oh, well, who
moron.
knows with that fella at this point? But
I think another important thing to say, and I mean, obviously it's different for the context of this movie, but when people say like, "Oh, tennis is intimate," I don't know. Like, to me, that doesn't mean it's sexual. Like, there's a lot of things
that's
that,
no.
like wrestling is, that's an intimate thing. You're getting up right in each other, but it's not sexual at all.
No.
So I think it's
And I would say you could probably have the argument that it's more sexual than tennis, because tennis,
Yeah.
at least you're standing,
yeah.
just, you know, 20 meters away
There's
from.
no
But the
physical
question
contact.
is, question is whether or not that is true for the case of this movie. And I don't know. I think
so.
you could maybe make an argument judging just on the basis of, you know, his other works, which have obviously queer representation. But I don't know. At least in my case, when I watch this movie, a lot of the scenes which get read as being, you know, sexual, like between him and all the guys, Art and
Patrick and Art.
Patrick, it's like sexually coded. But in my viewing of the film, I didn't have that feeling, which is why I really wish I rewatched it to see if I having that in my
Solidify
brain.
it.
Because, like, for example, there's that sauna scene.
Yeah.
And to me, that didn't come across as sexual at all. It just came across as two old friends who don't like each other anymore. And
Yeah, and when you think
people
about it,
read that as extremely sexual, like have tension. But I didn't have that feeling at all.
But people, when you think about it, people go into saunas every day, naked.
Yeah,
and
that's
will
like
sit, and will sit in front
normal.
of people that they've never met before. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, that moment. Obviously, the two of those characters obviously share so much history, and they would have an intimate history given that they were living together and all that sort
And
of
they
stuff.
had that story of where, like, when they were kids, they wanked next to each other.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
it's not like it's...
Exactly.
They are comfortable with each other.
You could apply this same sort of idea to that film, E Tu Mama Tambien,
Yeah.
by
yeah, with
Coron.
the two boys in the chair.
You know, which
Oh,
those
yeah.
two, it's like the same sort of story. And Coron, you know, those guys are clearly not gay, but they still, same thing. They like masturbated next to each other in the film. And I think there are moments where they kiss or
She makes
almost
them
kiss.
kiss as
yeah.
well. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, when
and that's
they-
not a thing. It's more of a, and that kissing thing,
That was a question I do have.
when they kissed each other.
Yeah.
I don't
what are we supposed to feel there?
I mean, heat of the
I
moment.
think it's all
guess.
supposed to be about
Because it's like it's
Zendaya.
not like but it's not like you wouldn't know that you're kissing your boy because
You could feel
a dude's
bum
head-
fluff.
yeah,
or
it does not feel the same.
roughness, you know, rough skin.
yeah.
But
But I will say that scene really goes to show like how messed up in the head Zendaya's character is. She
Yeah.
sits back there, she does like the Kubrick stare, and you can see that she's just really enjoying like this manipulation of
she's
these,
such an
these
awfully
people.
manipulative person.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah, I was really interested to bring that up because obviously when I ran online and people had different thoughts about the film, and like at film school, a lot of people have seen it and a lot of people had different things about it to say. And by the time I finished the film, I was the only one in the theater, and I exclaimed out loud, I hated all of those people, all three of them. I couldn't.
just had to get it off your chest.
I couldn't stand any of them.
I kind
They
of
were all of them were such despicable people.
I feel like I kind of enjoyed Art though. I didn't think he
See
was
the blonde guy?
yeah.
I think
the
he's the
one
one with
the
the-
one
But he's also a manipulative prick.
yeah,
He
but the one
sabotaged
thing
his mate's
that's what I'm saying. That's the
relationship.
one thing that he did that was like, you know, a dodgy thing was that.
Yeah.
But at the same
he
time,
has the strongest plight.
yeah. At the same time, you know, that's something he did as well, like an 18-year-old. And when we're looking at him as an adult, he's now an actual father. He's just like a dude,
He's tired,
you know. And he's grown up. Whereas Patrick is this like
immature.
it's basically like Drake versus Kendrick, bro. That's a good way to bring that in.
Jesus.
You know what I mean? Like
We're not making this episode about Drake and Kendrick.
Drake. This is the allegory. Drake is, you know, still an F boy.
So
he's like
Drake
near
is
40s.
Drake is Patrick.
Yeah.
Art is Kendrick.
Yeah, legit. Like, tell me I'm wrong. It's actually what it is.
So what does that make Zendaya? Millie Bobby Brown?
Whitney. No. It's literally Kendrick's wife because Drake was saying.
Is it
some
Drake's
stuff.
mystery daughter?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Anyway.
Christ.
The point is though. The
Well, we
point is.
digress. Back to challenges.
Yeah, the point is that I think Art, his character isn't necessarily like he's not terrible. Like I think Zendaya's character is a pretty terrible person.
So is
Yeah,
Patrick.
And I think
agree.
Patrick is he's not like the worst person ever. None of these people are the worst people ever. It's just like,
The thing is that's interesting though is I can see defenses for all of them. Like I can see defenses for Patrick because his mate sort of fucked up his life. Like bump the table.
That's what-
By the time you know, Art essentially causes the breakup, I think, more or less between Tashi and Patrick.
But then again, their relationship was never going to last.
No, but and that's the interesting thing as well, is because is Tashi at all sympathetic? And I think what's interesting is that she never tries to hide the fact that her priority is tennis, and that she doesn't, like she says in the film, like, I don't care if people love me or not, because she's so focused on tennis. And that's why the ending is so great, is because the whole time she's seeing Patrick win or Art win, she loves and hates them both. But at the end, the only time she ever looks happy is when they just had a good game of tennis.
That's what she says.
That's all she wanted to see.
And that's like foreshadowed when they're at that, like, the beach thing, and she's talking about like a good game of tennis and like why she screamed and stuff. And then when she says, when she like manipulates them into kissing and blah blah blah, after she's leaving, she's like, I just want to see a good game of tennis.
Yeah.
Like, she just wants to watch some good fucking tennis. I think that's literally the line she uses.
But that's it. I mean, I think, don't get me wrong.
She lets out that scream of just like...
Don't get me wrong. I think that
when she's playing.
Well, even at the end of this movie, though, I'm saying, like, it's comparative, that experience for her.
She should... I mean, the boys were willing to sort of be with her, even though she made it very clear that she was not really looking for what they were looking for. But, I mean, she's consciously aware that she's a home wrecker, quote unquote, and like fucked up their friendship and doesn't seem to particularly care, which I do think is a bad thing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there is like a psychology to her that I can almost understand, given that how she is, and she doesn't hide it. I think that's the main thing. She doesn't hide it. She's very open about what she...
The fact that she couldn't have her own career.
Yeah, she was living vicariously.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and so when Art's like, I don't want to play tennis anymore, she's like,
well, I'll leave you.
Bro, who the hell are you to me then?
Yeah.
And that was another question I had.
Is this about like the
scene,
submissive?
No. The scene there where she says like, if you lose, I'll leave you.
Yeah.
Whether or not that she really meant that, or if it was just a motivation thing.
It was a motivation thing.
Yeah,
That's
I don't
how
think she was going to leave him. Because I do think you do see in the film enough that she does care about her daughter.
And the daughter.
They have a child together.
And that is what, like, don't get me wrong, I definitely think Art is the most sympathetic. I think he did the least wrong in the whole film. And, he's like clearly a good father. There was that great scene where he was like asleep next to his daughter right before the game. And I actually...
After cheating on her.
I found that quite powerful.
I agree. She's like, damn.
Because we were,
I really just did that.
Yeah.
With our legs up in Angelica, and we're just like,
Yeah, it was...
a bit of an uncomfortable moment, really.
Yeah. But I think, it was a surprisingly really in-depth, interesting film. And I also really want to see it again. And I might try to before it leaves cinemas. Because now that I know the story, whether my opinion on any of the characters would change, and like knowing where the story is going to go. I'll also say that, I mean, it's decently long and I wasn't bored. I thought it chugged along really quickly.
How long is it?
2.25.
Yeah, 2.25.
Yeah, okay.
Definitely, I think it feels...
Paced very well.
Yeah.
I think it feels less than 2.
Yeah.
I think there's a solid 20 minutes that's sort of lost in translation there, which I think is a very good thing, obviously.
I can't remember exactly, is the very end, does it end right after they embrace?
Yeah, the last shot is her jumping up.
Actually, to be fair, the ending I'm not sure if I was such a fan of. But again, there was something probably rewatch.
Of them falling into their arms.
I would probably want to rewatch. Just
because didn't even...
They just felt rushed.
They didn't even declare who won the match.
Yeah.
Because was that a foul? Because he's over the fence? Over the line?
No, because he doesn't fall over it.
But he lands in the other guy.
If your hand is... I don't think you're allowed to have your...
Any part of the body over the line.
Yeah, I think the racket is allowed to go over, but I don't think you can have your hand across the...
And his whole body goes
across
over.
the net. Yeah, I'm not sure. But I think it's... I think him being up in the air doing that would probably be a foul because he did fall over.
So the game doesn't even end? Then?
No, who knows?
No, well, you don't know the final score because he fouled, but they would keep going.
Yeah, exactly. Which is saying they don't finish the game.
Exactly.
But that's not the point. It's the Zendaya.
Yeah.
Seeing her good game of tennis.
Well, that's the whole thing. Is the film like any good sort of like Rocky in the same way as it sort of uses sports as the drawing card, but that's not really what the film's about. Yeah. Like Rocky is a romance between him and Adrian, and not about the boxing. The boxing's like towards the end, and the tennis thing.
And the boxing's not even about the boxing.
No, I know, But the tennis thing is more of a, it's like a really interesting thing to grab you in. But as you said, there's more time spent not playing tennis and exploring these
And
relationships.
they always have that line where they're like, "Are we talking about tennis?" And then they're like, "We're always talking about tennis." That's so good.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
And then Zendaya's like, "When the fuck do I ever talk to you about anything that isn't tennis?"
Yeah, very interesting. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
One of my
really enjoyed
favorite
the film.
parts of the film, even though it was so incredibly obvious it was going to happen, is when Patrick did the serve right after, at the very end,
Yeah.
as the callback for the first time he slept with Zendaya.
Yeah.
And Art was like, you don't have to say it, but just do something like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was sitting there waiting for it to happen for so long, and they just kept not doing it. I'm like, are they really not going to do the thing that they're going to obviously do?
But it was just really like.
I was actually satisfied just the fact that they did it, because I was getting frustrated that they hadn't done it, because they kept saying like, get to it.
I was going to say fulfilling, but satisfied's a much better word.
Yeah, it wasn't like
you
fulfilled. It was like you have to scratch an itch. Like, fucking do it, please.
Yeah.
Please do it. Put me out of my misery.
It was just.
And because I was waiting, because I knew when it would happen, it'd be really funny and really amazing, and I just couldn't wait for him. Like, please do it.
Another thing as well, I got to say this is
His reaction is great too.
it's got an amazing score.
Oh yeah, that's what I can't believe I hadn't
score
said that.
is so
I
awesome.
have been
It was
listening to the score.
Trent Reznor and Atticus
I've just been
Ross,
listening-
amazing composers.
I was for like a solid 2 days. I was just listening to that.
Have you heard the main one, the Match Point?
Yeah.
The one at the end?
I don't
That's
even.
the best
I
track.
couldn't even distinguish any of them. I just
Is it like
been listening to
Challenges
straight.
Match Point
Is it like electronica? What is the style?
That's like club music, bro.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's called.
Just without shit lyrics.
It's not
But
really.
it's so awesome.
It's
And
not
again,
really dance music.
you don't expect a film like
not
this to
EDM.
have that quality of a music.
EDM adjacent is what I'm going to call it,
Yeah, no, that's.
because I have no idea what it is. The point is, it's really good, and it's such an interesting vibe for the movie.
Exactly.
Because
Is in Nine Inch Nails.
it's almost not like fitting, but that's why it's fitting. In
Exactly.
a sense. It builds a very different.
Unexpected.
It builds a very different intensity to the.
I think
the
it
movie.
also matches the pace really well.
Yeah,
It also
yeah.
matches, I think, stylistically the visuals. The sort of wacky camera
Yeah.
movements and stuff is. If it had a more traditional score, it would kind of be off-putting.
Well, because I
Yeah.
think tennis generally as a sport is a classical
Yeah,
sort of
that's-
sport.
A very polite person.
Yeah, like
sport.
you go
Wimbledon, it's a English.
dress in white,
Yeah.
You know, you associate it with
play on the grass and stuff.
posh people.
Yeah, it's
sort of
posh,
thing.
rich person
It's a
sport.
very money intense
is.
sport,
It
Yeah.
is.
but the film isn't. The people are rich. Two of them, Art and Tarshin.
Yeah.
Patrick was
Patrick's goated, bro.
threw himself.
Patrick was-
His parents are rich too, so
Yeah.
he just
Yeah.
chooses, and that's why Zendaya's like, it was cute when you're 20.
You want to talk about
30
something that's satisfying when that woman gave him half her burger and this dude just started hoeing in. I was like,
she was so nice, man.
I
She
feel
was.
you.
It was
Actually, that Zendaya scene where he's talking to her in like the back alley and like saying, "You want to be my coach?" and he like hands her the number, and she's like, "I'm not going to call it." It's like everyone knows you're going to call it. You kept the fucking note.
number. Yeah,
It was
just terrible human
yeah.
activities.
And it's like, yeah.
But I think it's an excellent idea, getting back to the music, that it wasn't a classical or traditional film score.
Well, I was saying
But
like
again,
the film.
it's not a tennis movie.
Yeah, that's what I said.
The
I
film
said that,
itself,
I
though,
said.
it's not very traditional in a lot of ways.
No.
It's very like,
That's why I think that's what makes it good.
yeah.
That's what makes
No,
it fresh.
that's
It felt,
yeah.
even though like you could compare it to something like Itumam Tambien, it's still so different. It's such a fresh movie despite having a lot of sort of things that we may have seen before.
Yeah.
I think, because going into it, the only thing I'd seen, heard, read about it was what does Tom Holland feel about Zendaya getting tag teamed by two
To be
white
fair,
men?
I had when I was sitting there watching, I had that feeling. I was like, what I was trying to be like, if I was Tom Holland right now, what I be thinking? And I was just like,
The best thing ever was he actually posted about it. Like he posted the poster and he said something like, "I know what I'm doing this weekend," and everyone in the comments was like, "No, dude, no, stay away.
But-
Maybe skip this one, lad."
But
that'd be so awkward, man.
It would be a.
but that's all I knew about the film. Going
You're like
into
you're looking over like Tom's like over to Zendaya, like
it. At the world premiere.
she's like getting real small in her chair.
Yeah.
But
But I think that's unfortunate as well. I want to say that is that it really pisses me off. Like you see it in the press, all the interview junkets, all she's asked about and all they're asked about is the fact that there's like the whole threesome thing.
Yeah, that it's marketed as the Zendaya
and,
gangbang.
and Zendaya,
it's also
It's not the part of the movie, really.
Yeah,
she's
it's the-
harassed about this whole, all these kissing scenes Zendaya, blah blah blah. And it's like, first of all, there was never a threesome. It was
Yeah.
they made out. That's
Yeah,
it. There was never a threesome. And that was one scene in the movie, and otherwise the characters are all divided otherwise for the rest of the film. Like, they're never really in a group together after
Actually,
that
that's a
scene.
good point. Except for when they do it with a camera where she's sitting in the middle.
Oh,
And again, also
That's
the
a great
whole
shot.
another
Great shot.
another point of the film is how little romance there actually is.
Yeah, it's
isn't
not a
e-
romance
It's not even a romance film. Like, all the relationships,
Sex movie, I guess.
all the relationships are so toxic
Yeah.
and awful. And there's the tennis element, and there's all these other sort of psychological subtleties that the whole let's just talk about the sexual aspects of the film, I think, is so
Reductive.
yeah,
well, the most sexual part of the film is
takes
when they
away
break
from
up. When Patrick and Zendaya break up, that's the most intimate. You got the threesome kissing, and when they're in the
Yeah,
Oh, they
together.
actually have an actual,
They don't have sex, but they're
Yeah.
making out, and then they break
So
up
they have
straight
like
away.
the soft core scene.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
it. I was kind of surprised that it was rated M though. The film's rated M and not
I think
MA,
that's fair
not
enough.
MA-15.
Oh,
well,
I think M's fair. I don't think it should be.
I don't know how
MA-15.
the ratings work.
Why
so.
would it be MA-15?
I mean, it's
It's like semi-nudity
Where? Oh, in
in that scene
but there's
because it's like see-through.
they're in underwear.
Yeah,
but
but
the
it's
topics
see-through.
on there. There's also like it's fair amount of swearing in it and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think.
Wait,
M's
actually,
fair.
that's a good point.
I was surprised that
Isn't
it got,
M like you're only allowed one F word?
Yeah, that's supposed to be the go. I don't
I
get
don't
it.
know.
It doesn't matter.
Not
We
really
should
my,
start-
not
we-
really
we
my
should try
problem.
and get
It's not
jobs
really our
rating
problem
films.
anymore, you know?
No,
We're
exactly.
beyond the age where it matters.
I
Yeah.
still remember when
Bo was afraid.
Yeah.
That wasn't even that long ago.
That was
Did
last year.
you got ID'd, right?
Yeah, they're like,
We went-
sorry,
they didn't
bro,
let
you
us
can't
in.
go. And then we watched Clifford the Big Red Dog.
I've not been ID'd. I've not been ID'd since 2019.
Is that the second time
that
you
was the
name
last
dropped
time
that
I
in 2 episodes?
I think so. That's
Clifford.
a pretty seminal moment in the podcast, to be fair.
Clifford or Bo's Afraid.
Both that day. That's going to be called the Red Day.
The Red Day.
Yeah, Day
It's
Red.
like our version of D-Day.
Yeah.
Let's go to see Clifford.
The other
I only
thing...
just turned 18.
No, well, I don't know. I think I was like a week away
Yeah,
from turning 18.
yeah.
Some retarded bullshit. Like, dude, let me in. Like, you think some,
It's
like,
also
you think
South Lake Cinema.
You think a police officer's going to come in and be like, are you seriously watching Bo is Afraid right now?
No, Isaac was actually.
Can you imagine?
Like,
Get on the ground!
he pulls me
Shut
up.
the fuck up!
Isaac was actually the
He's resisting arrest.
person.
Taser! You're like, I'm watching this movie.
I'm like locked in.
Taser.
I'm like,
Isaac was an auditor. You know,
Oh,
was what?
geez.
you're an auditor. You're going to take his job away from him.
dude, it's so dumb. Like, anyway, going back to the movie, you were going to say something about art being submissive or something.
Just with that whole sort of, I think it was just more so a Zendaya's power over him.
Oh, right.
But
I feel like that's the classic. What's the phrase?
Simp.
No, the chain and what is it? The ball and chain.
oh yeah,
That's the classic thing.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like,
On a leash.
Yeah. They die.
Whipped.
Yeah.
but yeah, when you brought up the fact that she said she was going to leave him if he didn't win, I felt like just the amount of control Zendaya had over art, and I haven't developed this thought at all, but why art stays.
Because he just is so attracted to her, I guess.
And he loves her.
And he actually does love her.
He actually
Yeah.
loves her.
Yeah, he always... Actually, that's the thing. He always loved her. Because, well...
From the very start,
when he says to her, Pat, he doesn't love you. And then she's like...
he's
because
implying
obviously
that he does.
She's like, who said I want someone to love me?
What is
That
interesting?
dude really
what is
just got the
interesting?
short straw in that
Who? Patrick? or-
Art.
Art. Well, he got the girl, so I guess he got what he wanted.
until the end.
What is interesting is that they don't sort of present Zendaya's character to be unattracted by art's inherent like weakness, in my opinion.
Like deterred by it.
Yeah.
But no,
Yeah.
she feeds off it.
Like you know how he
Yeah.
sort of she says she's going to leave him and he sort of just asks her to hold him.
Yeah.
Like she's actually moved by that.
Yeah.
Like she's not some cold chick who's like
she's
attracted.
actually very interesting.
Because
Yeah.
she's not attracted inherently, quote unquote, to strength. Because like Patrick is a much more, you could say, traditionally masculine guy.
Yeah.
And when he asks her to be his coach and all that, she's like, "Fuck off." And when Art's been like a bit of a coward, she also doesn't. She doesn't immediately go to Patrick. She goes to Patrick for like a different reason.
It'd be really interesting to sit down and really tease out like that, the sort of relationship and like the psyche between each of the characters and how they relate. Because I think that is interesting. That like Art is not really a traditionally like masculine dude, but he's also still masculine in many ways.
he never really does anything that's feminine.
Yeah, he doesn't do
At
anything
all.
feminine. He's just
But he's open
not that
with
dominant.
He's
like,
open
Yeah.
with his emotions and all that as
Yeah.
well and stuff. Which is very
I
interesting.
think that they sort of provide a nice like not quite a dichotomy, but the opposition in some sense between Patrick and him.
He's relatively passive.
Yeah.
Also, you guys must have been thrilled when the daughter came up to Zendaya or something and she said, "Oh, can I watch Spider-Verse?"
We giggled.
They put Spider-Verse, like you can hear it in the background.
Yeah,
She's watching Spider-Verse.
Of course we can watch.
I was like, yeah, that is kids nowadays.
Grandma was
Yeah.
pulling a lot of that weight.
Yeah, like the grandma was carrying, bro.
I mean, all her parents are fucked.
Yeah, it's a bit going on.
They're psychologically cooked. Do we have anything else?
I'm sure we'll think of it later, but currently, I don't know, covered it reasonably well.
Do we want to go with ratings? God, I bumped that table.
Yeah. You start.
I'm going to give it an 8.
Mm-hmm.
Really liked it. It honestly could be a 9 if I see it again and I'm more interested in it, but I thought it was thoroughly entertaining, really well written, really interesting.
I am also at an 8. Had a
Yeah.
great time.
I think I'm the same as you guys, so I'd say an 8. As I said, the ending maybe would be, depending on how I feel about it on a second viewing, would change a lot, I think. Other than that, I don't think there's too much else that was necessarily bad about it.
Yeah.
Do
It's
we
just
mention
the highs of it maybe aren't super high, but they're still pretty good.
It's consistently good
Yeah.
throughout the whole film.
Yeah.
Did we mention that it's been critically received really well?
Well, no.
No, but
But yeah, no.
Yes.
Yeah.
no, but yes.
Super well, yeah.
Yeah.
Super well. Which is
A lot more than I
unsurprising.
thought it would have been.
Yeah, I
Which
mean,
is exciting. It's refreshing.
I don't know.
to see it.
I haven't checked like how much the general public has enjoyed it. I think they have, which is surprising because it is such a ambiguous movie in a lot of ways. But I think that's cool.
Yeah.
I think you can clearly see that the public are turning away from mass-produced garbage and they're
yeah.
looking for proper cinema.
The
quote
return of
unquote.
art.
I mean, like the biggest movies and the most talked about ones, Barbie, Oppenheimer, Dune, all really well-made original films and not franchise crap that people are obsessed with,
Yes.
which I think is a great thing. And
Well,
like,
they kinda-
challenges has been
I
pretty
mean,
big.
like
and
they,
that's,
like they kind of are, but not really.
no,
Barbie,
but
at
they're
least,
not
and
some. But
Dune.
they're not some factory-produced
Yeah,
crap.
the way
Like,
that
they're
they're
made
made.
with artistic
Yeah,
integrity.
yeah.
And there's not like there's 12,000 Dune movies. There's 2 of them, and you know.
There are 12,000 Dune books, though.
True. There are.
How many actually are there?
I don't know.
I think there's 7.
there's
There's
no,
7
there's
that,
more than that.
7 that he wrote.
Yeah, and then there's like
But then-
a million
Oh, his
more.
sons,
Yeah,
right?
that they,
His
that
son
they,
and
yeah.
some other guy.
And there was a lot, I think, that were sort of notes that he'd written that were, or like unfinished works that they just published and stuff.
I think-
Anyway,
anyway.
we're not talking about June. We got to
next
move
film
on.
we are talking about is Civil War. Not the Marvel film from 2016, but Alex
Thank
Garland's
God, no.
2024
I said
Civil
Marvel
War,
was good.
Yeah, that's a good point.
which is essentially a film about 3 journalists that follow 4 if you include the old
I include.
fella.
Well,
All right,
he's
yeah,
in that
he's
film.
a very important. Four journalists that travel.
3 journalists and 1 pathetic little girl.
There we go.
Trying to be a
excellent.
journalist.
Faux journalist.
Yeah.
Who follow a faction, a side of the modern dystopian American Civil War in the very near future.
Do they follow one individual? I thought they went to different ones.
I feel
Well,
like
I think they're impacted by a lot of different ones, but they're ultimately trying to get to DC to interview the president.
Yeah, so they
Yeah.
so they follow those guys.
they're following the people that are
Yeah, going there. Yeah, I see.
uprising.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, it's got Kirsten Dunst as Lee, the senior journalist, and the other characters are Joel. I guess a sort of he's crazy. Joel is crazy.
He's just a guy being a guy.
Nice. He's just, I think he's
not a
He's an
normal.
adrenaline seeker.
He's
just
da-
not normal.
He's damaged from the war, clearly. But I think ultimately he seems pretty composed.
Well, it depends what you mean by crazy. Like, he's definitely not a normal thinking dude, but he's not like he has a grasp on what is happening.
Yeah, crazy in the sense he's a bit of an adrenaline junkie.
He's strange for sure.
Yeah. And then I guess suppose the main character,
I don't know any. What's
Jesse?
her name? Yeah, I think it is Jesse.
I think
yeah.
Jesse and what's
Lee.
Lee. They're the main characters.
Well, it's like the
It's about
senior
them.
and the
Yeah.
But anyway, Jesse
She's a
is
protege.
Yeah.
a young journalist who a lot of other films where it revolves around a mentor and the learner or the student is really fucking annoying.
What are you talking about, bro? Have you seen Star Wars?
I was actually just going to say.
That's literally the whole plot of every Star Wars movie.
It reminds me of this one time where you were the master and someone else was the Padawan.
But yes, their whole point of trying to get to the capital is they want to they want to interview the president before he gets killed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
essentially.
And so that's the whole journey that they go on.
So essentially, yeah, there's the, what do they call them, the Western Alliance or something?
Yeah, Western Alliance,
California and Texas.
Yeah, that's how you know this movie's
Non-political.
fake. Hey, this movie's fiction. And then you've also got Florida just being idiots like they always are. And then all the other
I think that's
states
just America.
The Mao, Idaho. The Mao.
Yeah, there was some Mao faction.
Also, I don't really
Maoist
understand how
scumbags.
California and Texas could somehow beat the rest of America. Don't see it.
Population-wise, they're half of America.
I don't
More
think-
than.
don't think that's true.
Well, okay, if they're all warring, like maybe we're to assume that America is weakened by, you know what I mean? Maybe there's
Well-
some convenient factors. You
Plus,
know?
I think also it's heavily implied that the president is like a fascist.
Oh, really?
I would,
didn't
I would,
pick that
I would
up.
assume. Well, weren't they saying as well? Like they actually go through at one point. They go through a state that's not even warring. Like a lot of the states aren't even taking part in the war.
True.
Because
They
they're
go-
probably they're probably just martyring themselves.
There was
There was the perfect town, but they had snipers on all their roofs. It was like a precautionary thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
there was
It's kind of strange.
Still-
It's unsettling.
Not the point. Let's just get straight into it. Did we like
That's what I was
it?
gonna say.
Do we like the
I
film?
did like
I did like it, but I was gonna say toward like a lot of the movie doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense. Like the fact that the president is just
Surely he would have
chilling in the-
evacuated.
yeah, like he
Fucked
would
off.
have some sort of safety thing going on.
It was like
the
there was
whole
fake
war
evacuation.
situation doesn't necessarily make sense, but I don't think that really matters because it's not really the point of the movie.
Definitely not.
It's
the
not
point
like
of the movie.
wow, look at this super accurate representation of Civil War.
That's why
No,
the
it's-
marketing kind of lies to you because
Yeah.
like one of the main posters is like the Statue of Liberty on fire.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you don't even go to New York. You don't even see that. It's like
and
all these sort of world-ending America falling apart.
Where do they
things.
start?
So-
Is it Chicago?
I have no idea.
that I remember.
But I think that's one of a lot of the critiques.
Were they in Detroit? No, whatever.
A lot of the critiques that a lot of the Americans have is like, oh, it's apolitical bullshit, and it's like, yeah, you probably wanted a political film because of your political turmoil at the moment, but I don't think that was what the movie wanted.
The world doesn't need a
Yeah.
political
The
Civil
yeah.
War film. It's like
Yeah.
America's fucked up enough as it is. We don't need fucking
Yeah.
something else to
The
stoke
movie
that
has
fire.
nothing political to say at all.
I think Garland also wanted to avoid.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's
Personal
it's probably not good
repercussion.
for your career
Yeah.
unless you're like an actual political activist and you care about it a lot. There's no need for it.
But when you make a movie like Men, are you politically active?
I think. if
What
you
did
make
Men
a-
have to say about politics?
I don't think Men had
Nothing.
anything to say except
Nothing.
look at this awesome
And I
thing
don't
I
even
thought
see-
of.
I don't even think it had
The
something
thing.
to say about.
I can't remember what had anything.
It didn't even
to
have
say.
anything to say really about gender relationships. It was just more of a psychological drama
Men was
about
fucked up.
about how.
Just a movie, really.
Anyway, so the last film he made was Men.
Yeah, a lot of his films, honestly, is actually it's quite interesting. We bring that up is that they seem more political or seem to have a political shroud around them that's actually not there and has nothing to do with what his films are about. I
Well,
think
what
his
about
films are a
Ex
lot
Machina?
more.
Does that really even have anything to say about
Well, it's got something
The
a
problem with
little
AI?
bit to say about AI, but it's more of a thriller.
just a movie.
It's not like the end of the movie. You sit there and you go, "Wow,
I haven't
she's
seen
gonna take over the world." Annihilation is just a ripoff of Stalker. That's the
Right,
plot.
really?
Well, yeah. There's this alien zone and these
the
scientists
laws of
with
nature don't apply?
scientists with
It really is.
zones go in with guns and explore it.
Yeah.
But it's really dumb, and there's like this
Is it received well?
two-headed crocodile and all this crap, and I was just like thinking, wow, Tarkovsky would roll in his grave if he saw that.
It's just like it removes all the subtlety of Stalker.
Yeah, like anything interesting
All-
that Stalker
all
had to
thing-
say is gone because
Yeah.
they tried to make it more visually dazzling.
There was a great, I don't know where I heard this line, but someone was doing some analysis thing where they were talking about how like if you have a bunch of questions that are unanswered in like a show or a movie and then you eventually answer them, the answers have to be more interesting than the questions, and oftentimes they're not.
Yeah,
I think that would be the case for this Annihilation. You're like showing like stuff that's not as interesting as the questions that we could be asking.
yeah.
Anyway, going back to Civil War, I don't really know what I was going to go back to, just that we should go back to it.
We should go back to Civil War.
Okay, so we all liked it.
Yep.
I definitely enjoyed it. It was. I don't know necessarily what I was expecting, but it was a lot more typical of a movie, if you know what I mean. Like it was, I think the plot was fairly like generic. It is just like a road trip movie, and there's a lot of those movies where you've got like a gang of people trying to go from A to B and
And they're just going and stopping at all these places.
stopping at
Things are
places. You know, they
Yeah.
get on different misadventures and stuff, and obviously the film, we came out of that and you guys were saying that it's more about the journalism and stuff, which is not really something that I have a particular interest in. And it didn't grip me in that way. I was more interested in it as just a story about the characters. I didn't really give a fuck about journalism.
Well, I agree with you there, to be fair.
But yeah, I mean, it's enjoyable. I thought Kirsten Dunst was great. I really like her as an actress. I really love Kaylee Spaney as well, even though her character was fucking annoying as shit and was such a colossal fuckwit. It's just amazing, you know.
I mean, we should say, like, at the end of the movie, she pulls the ultimate, like, dickhead move.
That was
selfish.
I actually thought it was kind of
more
hilarious.
than just selfish, though. It's literally incompetent and just annoying. Like,
Yeah.
But it's also good because it is sort of foreshadowed in a sense when Lee says to her earlier in the movie, like, if I was shot or something, would you take a photo? Like, if I was dead? She's like, what do you fucking think? And then she does the opposite. It's like the reverse. And I was like, damn.
I mean, that was the thing. And I think I said that to you guys when we came out of it, was that because I didn't really give a shit about the whole idea of war journalism, I took the film more to just be about the relationship of those two characters and the sort of Shakespearean tragedy that results, because they both go on opposite arcs. Like, what's her name again?
Jessie.
No, the other one.
Lee.
Lee is really cold and, you know, has been hardened by the war. Jessie is crying and all this rubbish. And then by the end, because Lee starts to have sort of an emotional attachment to Jessie because she's her, like, you know, Padawan. By the end, you know, Lee sacrifices herself, and like when they're going into the White House, she's crying and panicking and all this sort of crap, and Jessie is so determined to get photos. And then, Lee's the one who dies, and Jessie is really cold by the end.
Yeah, so I thought that was swap.
Yeah, and that was interesting. It wasn't particularly unpredictable, but it was fascinating nonetheless. And I thought both actresses had really good chemistry, and I think they pulled it off really well. I was really emotionally wrapped up in that, which is the other thing. There's not really a lot of political moments in it, but there are a lot of tense moments. I want to talk about the Jesse Plemons scene. We'll get to that in a bit, because that's really talked about a lot. I think that's the most notorious scene in the movie.
Yeah.
But
certainly for us.
I found we'll talk about that too. But the ending is really what's quite confronting when they actually storm the White House and they shoot the president. And I was very sort of like confronted by that. I was sort of thinking, oh, Jesus Christ, this is too real. This is too horrific. This is so fucked.
Yeah, it was just like
they shot the messenger too. When she comes down, she's like,
That's right.
Look, we'll do this, then this, and this.
So little sympathy.
Yeah.
From the soldiers they were following.
Yeah.
I think that also speaks to just like it's such a classic thing though, but like the how soldiers become almost like psychopathic. Like there's the whole what's the Australian guy, whistleblower?
Ben.
No, what's his name? Did you know about this?
Julian Assange.
No. So there's an Australian. There's an Australian whistle. This is happening now. He's a whistleblower who's getting like gonna get life in jail.
No idea.
For whistleblowing?
Yeah, about how the
soldiers... Because of Ben Smith?
No. Yeah, he was the guy who whistleblowed, that dude. About how there's like the soldiers are just like, we're doing fucked up shit and just killing people.
Well, there's the video, should I drop that? Yeah.
Yeah, like they're just doing like fucked up killing shit, and it's not getting reported properly, so the war crimes aren't getting... And his point wasn't like, oh, soldiers are bad. His point was...
War crimes aren't getting charged.
The officers in charge and stuff are
not penalising them for war crimes,
Anyway, so the point that I want to make, though, is that it's similar to that. And I think that's kind of funny that that's happening now at the same time. That the soldiers it's coming to light how they become less of a human in those situations. But yeah.
Well, it is. I mean, at that point...
It's sort of necessary. It's almost a requirement.
At that point, it wasn't kill or be killed.
Yeah.
I mean, in that case, it's just inhuman.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he was just doing it for fun. That guy was just doing it. He was actually just messed up in the head. But in Civil War,
I'm just thinking about the cinema.
Yeah. Anyway.
That moment in the cinema.
So the first, so at the very start of the film, there's a bomb that goes off in a protest.
Oh my God.
It doesn't really feel that intense. It's just so the characters can be introduced to each other, Lee and Jesse. The first time I felt a real intensity to the film was when there was the fighting with the graffiti, the spray paint.
Yep.
That was...
Oh, yeah.
That was, whoa, there were bullets flying. It was real stake sort of shit. It was an actual war. And what sort of is interesting is you can't really tell the two factions apart, or the two sides.
That's also clearly intentional.
Yeah, they look the same.
Yeah.
And so everywhere you're going, and then there's the executions. It's full on. But then we get to Jesse Plemons,
Yeah.
which
God.
there's
Wow.
for us, we kind of got taken out of the moment
Yeah.
by one of the funniest things I've ever had happen in a cinema.
Yeah.
So essentially,
You need to explain what was happening in the scene.
yeah. So Joel, right beforehand, they're driving towards the Capitol, and Joel, one of the journalists that Jesse and Leah with, meets some of his friends that are driving erratically, also journalists.
2 Asian men.
Which is important.
That's
later.
it. You need to- you need to say
2
that.
Asian men.
Yeah.
To get to the Capitol as well and to report. And they do this whole thing where they climb into each other's cars and they're just being fuckwits,
Yeah.
essentially. And anyway,
Jesse's like, oh, I got to do that.
Jesse goes with one of the
Typical
Asian
Jesse
men,
fuckwitness.
and one of the Asian men goes with the group of journalists that are
Yeah,
traveling.
that's right.
And obviously, Jesse and the other Asian men, they get there faster because they're speeding erratically.
Yeah.
And the car's empty by the time the other journalists get there. And there's essentially a bunch of soldiers on one of the sides.
One of which is Jesse Plemons.
Yeah, Jesse Plemons, and they've dragged them out of the car
Yeah.
or captured them.
Got him on their knees and like gunpoint.
Yeah, and there's a lot of dead bodies around.
There's a pit,
dump truck.
a pit
A
filled
pit
with bodies.
and a dump truck that
Yeah.
been dumping them in there.
Yeah.
And so Jesse Plemons is interrogating everybody.
Yeah.
He's asking them where
kind
they're
of-
from.
What kind of American are you?
Yeah. And so would you like to take over? I feel like you'll be
Yeah.
able to summarize this better from here.
Okay, so essentially he's holding them at gunpoint, and the first dude, the first Asian guy, I don't remember where he said he was from, but
He says a passable American answer.
No, he could.
didn't he say he was from Mexico or something? Like he's from.
don't even remember.
Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Anyway, Asian guy says something. Jesse Plemons doesn't like it. Shoots him in the face, and then Kaylee Spaney said a particular state. And somebody else said another state.
Yeah, they're all like.
And he goes, yeah,
countryside.
these are actual. That's real America.
Yeah.
Colorado,
That's America.
Missouri. That's America.
Yeah.
You know, blah. Then he gets up to the second Asian guy. He's the last guy to be asked this question. Shit in his pants. Like, you know, he has a very thick Asian accent, can barely speak English, whatever. He's from Hong Kong. And right before the dude says, because Jesse Plemons says, where are you from? And the dude's going to say Hong Kong. The theater was like empty, but there was this couple that was right in front
South
of us.
American couple.
And this guy just out loud, right before, just goes, China.
China.
He did it in an accent too. So
Yeah.
I imagine Nick didn't want to do that for the podcast, but he did it like in the same accent that Jesse Plemons does later, like
Yeah,
2 seconds
mocking.
later.
Yeah.
It was exactly the same. So I don't know if he's seen the movie before, if he just had the same.
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
God.
And it was even funnier because before the movie, we sort of briefly interacted with them, and they were very like nice people.
They were kind, yeah. So
It was so unexpected.
We were sitting in their seats.
Unbelievably unexpected.
And we were like, hey, we can move. And they're like, no, it's okay. And they sat right in front of us.
Yeah, that's right.
It was so unexpected.
Yeah.
I was so shocked
Because
and
the
it was
scene,
so
the
funny.
scene was so tense,
is
and we
such
were
a
all sitting
serious-
there thinking, "Oh my god,
This
he's
is
gonna
like-
say Thailand,
Yeah.
he's gonna
This
say something."
This is fucked up.
And this dude comes out in almost a Trump voice, China.
Yeah.
And
It was
it
insane.
took us so far out of the scene. And we were all suppressing our laughter because of how serious.
And it also was, I was suppressing because I didn't know if you wanted us to laugh at the joke. Like,
Well, we were
if you want other people to
we
hear
were
it.
all dying of laughter, but
Yeah.
we weren't out loud. We were kind of like
We were literally
laughing.
dying of
it's
laughter.
like when you're in school and you can't laugh, but you have
Yeah,
to.
Yeah.
like you're in class, so you stick your hand on the desk.
Or like when
to
you're getting
laugh.
in trouble and
Yeah.
and one of your friends starts laughing, you like you can't.
But
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, I very much enjoyed that laughter.
Oh, it was
But
good fun.
I'm disappointed
Oh, yeah.
because
It did
of the
ruin
gravity
scene.
of
Yeah.
the scene.
Yeah.
I feel like it took us away from
Because
that's one of the most important scenes in the movie.
it is.
I feel
Well, it's the most talked about scene in the movie by far.
because it's fucking full on,
And it's-
there's no mercy in it.
But that whole question of what kind of American are you is probably the most political moment in the film, and B, the most realistic. You know, that question
To America.
to America.
Yep.
You know, that sort of question, if there was some sort of, you know, civil war or some other version of that, some sort of proper division, that kind of question is such a fucked up question to ask. And it's so haunting because, you know, you don't even have to follow the news closely to know how fucked up America is politically in terms of their two political parties. And to know how sort of hauntingly realistic that question is. And so the scene was so tense. And he kills the guy because the guy says he's from Hong Kong, and we were all laughing.
Yeah.
Which is a shame.
Dying of
Yeah.
laughter.
It was so
And
funny.
then, what's his name? Sammy comes by in the car.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
epic.
The old journalist that's pretty much immobile
Yeah.
and had been shot by this point.
No, he
Yeah,
got
he
shot
gets
while he
while
did
driving.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
shot while he did it.
He got killed.
Saves them all.
Yeah.
Which brings you back into the intensity of the scene.
There was a beautiful scene later when they're driving and he's like in the back and the forest is on fire and he's like looking
Yeah.
out the window. I thought that was a good scene.
Yeah. But in that Jesse Plemons scene, he's wearing fucking bright pink sunglasses.
Yeah, he's like,
I know, that's what's so good about it. But he
Yeah.
pulls. That's why he's such a great actor, because he looked so goofy and yet he
Yeah.
pulled it off so well.
someone
It
was
was
telling me that
disturbing.
he was not originally going to be in the movie there.
Oh.
Well, yeah, it's because him and Kirsten Dunst
Yeah.
are married.
Was it you saying that?
Yeah, and so he was just around, and they
Yeah.
put him in, and he did it.
But yeah,
so
he
good,
is
bro.
incredibly disturbing in the film.
I know, it's amazing.
And then
He's
there's,
so base, bro.
there's almost like the trippy scene right before that of the Christmas festival,
Oh yeah, yeah.
which was
Oh,
also
right, yeah.
like there are some unsettling for different reasons things in this film that just out of place odd. Which is I
That was
reckon
also,
just
that
Alex
scene was
Garland.
also pretty funny.
Yeah.
Where he's like, he's asking all these questions like, dude, are you retarded?
What was that?
with the sniper.
With a sniper.
Oh, that's
he like
right,
he like
yes,
he like asked
yes.
Jessie the question, and she
Yes.
like there's a guy in there with a
Yes.
sniper, and he goes like,
Yeah,
"Are you retarded?"
What do you think? Yeah.
yeah.
That was a fun scene too, but more purely just because I think Alex Garland's trying to be goofy. You know,
Yeah.
would there be people with Christmas festivals in the middle of a civil war
I mean, maybe.
Why not?
by themselves? There was no one else. There was just one house.
What was that? There
They
was
probably
that,
didn't expect people
there
to
was
go
that
there. It was a big
dress shop.
mansion.
There was that dress shop they went into. They're just acting like it's normal.
Yeah, that was
Helicopters flying overhead with
It is America,
bombs and
man.
shit.
But the point
right.
is that that's not the
Strange-
Christmas festival thing
strange
isn't
country.
normal.
America.
That was like a trap sort of.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
It was fun. I enjoyed
Yeah.
it. It's food for thought. Not really.
I think the movie, the best part of the movie is definitely the ending.
Yeah.
Like that is so intense.
That last
Well,
act
yeah.
is really
You
powerful.
build up.
really like
So you get
you get stressed, man.
you get the Jesse Plemons scene, and then so there's the first one, and then the Jesse Plemons, and then it's the storm the White House.
Yeah. Well, Jesse Plemons' scene is the last scene on the road before they get to the White House,
Yeah.
and that's it's,
And
which is another thing. It made me think of it. Banging music in it. They had some
There's some
great,
excellent
They had
songs.
some not like original score. The actual soundtrack
Yeah.
was great because there's a lot of scenes which I really enjoy that sort of road trip kind of thing. It reminded me of a million of them. You can think of like Green Book or something, where they're driving along and playing music, and it's really sort of comfortable to watch, which is kind of interesting. And it's probably why it was done, which is that you've got all these such tense scenes. And you're on the edge of your seat, and then they immediately will cut to them just driving along, and there's a really nice, relaxing song playing, and so you almost kind of relax, and then you're immediately thrown into the next dangerous thing. I remember that actually, as they driving along, and there's a nice song playing, and then they immediately cut to that graffiti bite, and the gunfire is so loud, and it
Yeah.
cuts from that beautiful music, and it's so relaxed and nature and shit, just a,
They don't hold
which is-
back.
Yeah, very powerful sound mixing and really impactful stuff.
But essentially, there's the build-in gravity and intensity of each time they're actually shooting the journalism
Yeah,
until you get to
becoming
the White
more
House.
difficult,
Yeah.
yeah.
And more intense.
more intense.
You
Yeah.
know, there's no more important part of America than the White House in the sense of if a civil war's happening,
True. Yeah, seat of the power, I guess.
which is where your big Shakespearean tragedy comes back into it. Because it's sort of meandering along for a while.
Yeah, like
It's like
it's
the
not.
start and the end, and then in the meantime, it's just the building of the relationship.
Yeah, I mean, it's not boring, but it's not like you go in expecting this colossal civil war, and it's pretty low key, and sort of the fights or situations they get into are also pretty low stakes, low key sort of stuff happen.
Yeah.
Well, it's also because they don't start the film from the start of the Civil War happening.
Yeah, it's the
It
end.
picks up towards the very end. Because
Yeah.
by the time they get to the Civil War, they are moving in on the capital.
Yeah, that's right.
It would be interesting.
That's
if
the
it was-
whole reason, is because they know that the war is about to end.
Yeah, so they're racing.
It's the last interview with the president that they could get, or whatever
yeah.
they're trying to do.
It would have been interesting if it had happened from the start of the Civil War, because I imagine that would have been a lot more violent.
Yeah,
I think the start and ends of wars are the most violent and inhumane.
definitely the start.
Yeah. where there's the ground rules have not been established, if there are any, in war.
Not really.
But what do we think of the end?
I mean, the end's it wasn't unpredictable, but just sort of the fact of what you were seeing, I guess, is what made it impactful. So I wasn't.
Was there any music?
No.
Yeah, okay.
Like, I didn't.
I think that was part of what made you feel
Like, it was very obvious when they said, we need a quote. And he sort of said, oh, please don't let them kill me. And then they just kill him. And
Yep, that'll
they
do.
didn't, and that was, that'll do. I was like, yeah, man, okay, that's very obvious. Like, I knew that's what's going to happen. But it's more the fact that that's supposed to be the president and it's in the White House and it looks extremely accurate that kind of makes the scene very disturbing.
Yeah, the White House.
Because
looks
even
incredible.
Kirsten Dunst's death wasn't that unsurprising. I mean, I found it quite satisfying in terms of the narrative that we'd been watching. But the whole ending, it's intense just for the realistic connotations, but the ending itself isn't particularly groundbreaking. It was a pretty expected ending, I suppose.
Yeah, so you have the fake convoy leaving,
Yeah.
which just gets annihilated.
Yeah, that's right.
I feel bad for those dudes.
Yeah,
Secret
they
Service
weren't even
guys.
protecting anyway
He's got murked.
against a military secret.
Like, what was
service
that?
against a military.
How was that going to work?
by
Where
the-
was he going to go in the time that they were being a decoy? He didn't try to leave. He went under the desk.
Yeah. Coward.
That was his hiding spot, under the desk.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
come on. Now.
3-year-old.
That's why it's a bit silly. Like,
Yeah.
like there's
But-
no way that that's the president's hiding spot.
No, but
under the desk of the place where he does all his work.
But I don't
Even though
think
there's literally a panic room that's like
Yeah.
underground. There's tunnels.
covered with steel and shit in that room. The
But-
safe room, whatever it's called.
I don't think that detracts from the intensity
No.
of the
Yeah.
ending and how full on and fucking just like it's a gut punch.
Yeah.
Because it's like, as you said, Nick, it's relatively realistic in the sense of, this could happen. Sort of like, oh, if you're a journalist, is this what you're seeing when you're documenting war? And I think the film isn't very gruesome or realistic to the fact of what war journalists do document. I mean, if we look at the photos that come out of Gaza, per se,
I haven't actually looked at any of those photos.
I accidentally clicked on
Maybe
an
if I
ABC
would, I'd
link.
be camping.
Oh no. That's a different story.
But there's some traumatizing photos you see of war journalism. I can't.
Oh, yeah,
I
that's the
can't,
classic ones.
I can't recall anything that much in this film that has that
Yeah, they're
same
like-
level of impact, except for maybe the dump of bodies
Yeah.
sort of thing. Or like this is just one small place where so many people have died. But just because part of the point is what a camera's a gun.
Yeah, the way that they're holding it a lot of
Yeah.
times is for the journalist, their weapon
Well, that's the thing that
or their tool. Maybe, I don't know.
pissed me off in the movie is I was like, I don't really care if you're journalists. Like, you're traveling through the war-torn United States and you don't even have a pistol. Like, there were so
Unless
many
it's some- I
situations.
I feel like
they
it's
were
a
in.
legal thing. It'd definitely be like a sort of law.
But who's going to stop them? There's no one around.
Yeah, but if like
It's anarchy.
But
you
these
don't
people
know,
are
like
fairly humane.
for example, right? Like if you were a journalist, you might have political views, even though you're supposed to be neutral. If I'm walking around with a bunch of army dudes and have a gun, like, and I hate them, I might.
Intrusive
You know what I
thought.
mean? There's some sort of like
Kamikaze.
You can trust a guy when he doesn't have a weapon. It's like if he had the weapon, you might be like, well, maybe he might do some shit.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because they also don't build a rapport with any of the soldiers.
True, yeah.
There is no relationship between them and the soldiers other than that is
No.
their material.
Yeah.
Or a means to an end of getting to the capital. They're just hitching rides and shit.
Yeah. But the soldiers don't care about them.
But yes. The point of the movie is sort of the impact war journalism can have on the journalist, the mental toll it takes.
Yeah, I don't
I
think they're
suppose.
allowed to have it.
I mean, it's I can understand why people were unsatisfied with the film because it is a bit more intimate. It's a bit more low key. It definitely, leaned more into the holy shit gunfire insanity in the marketing than what the film really is. But I enjoyed it a lot.
There's nothing overtly terrible about the film either. There's no Alex Garland's a good director,
very good.
technically.
Yeah.
Like,
There's another thing I want to briefly mention is like those blur shots he does. There's something like Tarantino does them a lot, where he has like one side's clear and the other side's like blurred out. But the thing that was interesting about the way he did it in this movie is it had like the sort of like like RGB kind of colors coming off it too. I don't know if that's like you know how like the A24 logo is like that.
Yeah.
I don't know like if that like how they did that, where they had like I don't know if that was just in editing. I don't know if you'd be able to find a picture of it or anything, but I don't know. I thought that was interesting the way that he did that.
We watched it so long
because I've never seen any movie like do a shot like that where they also have the sort of RGB kind of coloring on it. I don't know if you noticed it.
I don't really remember.
Where was it in the film?
There was a couple times. The main one that I remember is when she was like in the hotel. I think toward like at the very start almost.
Yeah, when they were
when she's
meeting
watching
each
it.
other.
When she's watching the thing on TV.
Yeah.
I don't know. The point is, I thought it was interesting at least, and I think like even like with men, there were a lot of interesting shots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think there's a very clear quality to.
Alex Garland's
Yeah.
films.
But yeah, I don't know. That's about it, really. I have to say.
Yeah.
If we want to move into ratings.
Yeah, I'm happy to. I won't start because I started
I'm
last
happy
time.
to start.
What?
I'm going to give it a 7. I do.
Yeah.
I do
I'm
like
ditto.
that. I like the movie,
Yeah.
but
Seven.
it didn't do
It's gonna be
anything.
another all round.
Nah, there's no way the next one will have a consensus.
That's true, actually. What if it does, though? That's really,
It won't.
It
really
won't.
interesting.
But yeah, the film didn't do anything interesting enough or thought-provoking enough. The biggest thing we came out of is we probably had a half an hour discussion afterwards about just the general threat of everything.
Yeah.
could happen in the
we
world
started,
in the near
we started talking
future.
about like AI and shit.
Yeah.
China, AI, how we're going to lose jobs.
Australia sucking as well.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing we took out of the film.
I mean, we are Australians. It's fair enough.
It's just we reflected on our own country
Yeah.
rather than America.
Yeah.
Because,
But that's probably a good thing.
yeah,
It's probably a good thing to think about. I mean, you don't want to make a film where only Americans can fucking relate to it. You know?
Yeah.
That's not very good entertainment or good art, you know.
Yeah. I actually think that's why Americans are not liking this movie that much. Is
Because it's
isn't
not particularly American.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, what type? They're doing the what the line where they're like, "What type of American are you to this movie?" And Civil War is like, "Oh,
I'm not.
I'm not American.
I'm a globalist.
Yeah.
That's their answer.
I'm a globalist."
Excellent.
Oh, no.
We'd like to move on.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So it was my. Now we're on my pick. I guess I should preface that. El Topo. Or how did we decide it is?
I say El Topo.
I think El Topo sounds better.
I think that might just be my
The Mole.
Aussie accent.
The Mole is what it is.
Yeah.
By the boy, Alejandro Jodorowsky.
Yeah.
It's as it's defined, the cult spaghetti western.
Yep.
The definitive cult spaghetti western. And it
Acid
just-
western?
Yeah, acid western. Essentially, just follows a guy who is a cowboy. It starts. He sees this horrific like massacre, and then he persecutes the people who were responsible, and then he finds this slave woman who he takes as like I guess his partner, and leaves his son behind, and then
the monks.
he this woman convinces him to defeat all 4 master gun. I don't know what they're
Master
called.
Gunman.
Gunmen.
And prove himself the like greatest fighter in the West. or
and
whatever.
so he goes on
And
this
then
journey.
she'll love him.
This circle, this interesting like
We must travel
spiral.
in a spiral.
Yeah, to get to the middle, and then he eventually gets to the 4th guy, and the 4th guy just kills himself. So he stops him from being able to complete his task, which I thought was very funny.
Yeah.
And then from there,
It's almost split into 2.
yeah, it's definitely two
halves,
parts for sure.
yeah.
2 different stories that.
Because the second part of the film takes place years later.
Yeah. And the second part of the story, he's like woken up from being in like a coma. Actually, how did he get to there again?
I think what was implied, I was reading that he actually wasn't in a coma. He was just in a deep meditative state.
Oh, right.
Because he was contemplating the 4 lessons that
The 4 lessons.
the gunman taught him about faith. Because typical Jodorowsky thing, I mean, to be fair, when I say typical, all 3 of us have only seen The Holy Mountain.
Yeah.
But with this and The Holy Mountain, Jodorowsky is clearly really fascinated predominantly with Christianity, but there was
Religion
actually
in
multiple
Eastern.
faiths and-
He was I can't remember who it was, but he was a practicer of some Eastern religion dude. I think it's like the transcendental meditation stuff that like Lynch is into.
Well,
right.
an interesting thing
It might not be though, but something adjacent.
An interesting thing that I read is that he doesn't identify with any sort of
Which makes
country or nation.
makes total
right?
sense, man.
He goes, when I'm in this country, because he's from...
He speaks French.
Yeah, but he goes, when I'm this country, they all say I'm this, and when I'm in this country, they think I'm that. And essentially he's just like, fuck everyone.
He's just a dude, man. He's a crazy dude.
Which is a vibe I get from his films, is just fuck everyone.
What's interesting when you say that is because, especially with sort of his analysis or presentation of Christianity, is that some of the ideas that he presents are so inherently, Christian, and presenting them in really interesting and what would you say, accurate, respectful ways. But there are also lots of representations that are so almost anti-Christianity.
Yeah, I would say that.
Like his films were banned because of the anti-Catholic sort of imagery that's presented in them.
This was essentially a lost film till 2007.
Yeah, because what's his name?
The Beatles producer.
Yeah, John
Lennon's
agent.
Yeah, wouldn't release it.
Yeah.
Because he thought it was going to get more publicity after Hodorowski.
Yeah, Hodorowski.
Yeah,
Don't know
his death, and he's still alive to this day.
Yeah, he's a legend, bro. Met Kanye West. Have you heard that story?
Really?
No.
He said he described it as a truly surreal experience. And for Hodorowski,
Kanye or Hodorowski?
no, Hodorowski meaning
I think Kanye would say that?
That's how he described it, as a surreal experience. He was saying like it was. There's a YouTube video where he explains the story, but it's funny.
Actually, Kanye wrote famous.
He says that
Hodorowski.
Kanye they organized it and they sat down at the table and he had no idea what Kanye wanted. He just sat there and he said, "What do you want?" They had a conversation, and after Kanye left, he still had no idea what he wanted. It's so funny. It's absolutely hilarious. But yeah, anyway, going back to the movie.
Did we like it? It's the age-old question.
I enjoyed it, but I didn't think it was as sort of special in terms of my experience of it as the Holy Mountain was. The Holy Mountain truly felt purely like a symbolic, like
Absolutely.
It almost felt
It does feel like he was almost
I was on that
warming up to make the Holy Mountain.
Yeah.
Practice.
It was practice.
yeah.
Getting
Because the
foot in door.
first half is a pretty traditional.
It's actually a really. It would be a really good just western if you removed
it's
all
weird.
of
Like,
the weirdness.
It's weird, and obviously, especially once he leaves his kid and goes off, which is kind of the end of the first act. And
and also,
once he
why
starts
is his kid naked? What is that supposed to symbolize?
No, that's just some Hodorowski
Everyone
bullshit.
has their theory on that.
That's some
I don't.
bullshit.
It was his actual child.
Is
too.
it's supposed to just be something
Oh,
like
actually?
the naked
That's
innocence
super
of the
funny.
child.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
But my point is, because that's immediately what I assumed it was, but I was like, you don't need the kid to be naked. Like, you just don't.
you know a child's innocent.
Yeah, you can just have a child, maybe like have no shirt on if you really want to do it.
Yeah.
But like, dude, his penis does not need to be.
I mean, Hodorowski does some interesting things with how would I put this? Over the top.
Yeah,
in
well,
the film.
so that's a very interesting point. So like with the what would you call them? They're sort of like there's like the Italian theater caricatures of like the dudes with like the long noses. That's beside the point. But they're very crazy like henchmen guys.
At the start.
Yeah, at the start.
Yeah, the four or
that
five.
like where they like start doing really weird stuff and it's going more crazy and the
the
scene
woman
kind of goes out of that
chief.
that whole thing is
Yeah.
from because Hodorowski used to do theater and direct theater and he was a big proponent of I don't know what the actual like philosophy term that some retarded theater guy came up with, but the theater is called panic theater, where it just devolves into this bizarre like they're just doing crazy shit and it's like. That's basically the idea, and that obviously follows from his theater into his movies, and I think that's interesting because it has a very distinct style, and to what that actually that style says, I'm not sure. I didn't really look into it enough, but it definitely builds the chaoticness of what he's presenting, and I think that makes the material more interesting. But again, I didn't look into it enough to really come out of that with anything to say.
It was a really, especially the first half. I enjoyed the first half a lot more than the second half. For me,
Agreed.
For me,
Yeah.
I thought the first half was a really like enjoyable,
yeah.
cool story.
It was sort of just chuggling.
I like the
along.
idea of him like going through and defeating the four dudes and
Yeah, it was chugging along. It was just a fairly straightforward film.
yeah.
And I thought it was. He always has really beautiful cinematography, and I have such an appreciation. A few of the things that make his film so unique that I really appreciate is his commitment to practicality. Like everything there's no CGI. Everything's, practical effects. If he needs extras, he gets extras. The real animals, again, that's turned up to 11 in Holy Mountain, but that's
Were they
you know
at the start when they had the dead?
Yeah.
Was that all real? Because one
Yeah,
of them
that
kind of
was
looked
super-
faked. One of them,
All the
that was-
horses were real.
just one single one of them.
the
Looked
rabbits
like
were
plaster.
real. I mean, all that
The
was
birds they kill.
all
It
real.
just kills animals.
but
Like
that was
one of the top-
the 70s,
Which is why I don't understand how we can have any Buddhist influence, because that would be, like, it doesn't make any sense.
You must. I think you draw.
I
from
honestly,
everything
I
about
honestly
them.
think he must have the most confusing worldview. Like, he must be confused all the time. Just have no idea what he believes.
Living in
maybe
conflict.
there's clarity in the chaos.
Maybe it's like
Maybe that's the enlightened state. When
there's
you
like all this like
got
stuff
so
going on. And he's just
little-
like beaming through the middle.
There's so little context or sort of groundedness on anything that you can just sort of saw through.
Yeah, it'd be
but no,
interesting to talk to him, honestly.
If we go to the top,
wouldn't it be? He would be the
El
best
Topo.
guest on this
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah.
The things Hodorowski loves is acid.
He would dominate it though.
He would.
Acid, disabled people, and hurting animals, and things he hates is animals and the Illuminati.
Isn't this also a very there's a great movie, I think, what is it called, Oblivion or something, where they're making a movie and there's a joke scene where they have like a dream sequence and it's like a dwarf doing some dwarf shit. What is it with every dreamy movie and they for some reason always want to use a dwarf?
People just long to be dwarves.
So I think it's just something inherently mystical about
Unsettling.
it. It's like, oh,
I was going to say, I think a super admirable aspect to Tarkovsky,
Hodorowski.
Hodorowski, in conjunction with the things I just mentioned. I'm not fond of the animal killing, but still, it does add realism to his film. Is I appreciate how much he uses, disabled people.
yeah, and it's not like he's making fun of them.
No, he's
either.
in.
No, he never. But like they never, like especially the people in like this film where they truly like have really unfortunate disabilities and physical impairments and whatever. He was, he fully lets them be in the film, and there's no judgment there. They're treated like anyone else and normal people. Blah.
Then this on the surface.
And they're the good guys in this
Yeah.
film, actually.
yeah.
Yeah.
They're
Well,
sort of-
actually, you saying that has just made me have a whole like idea of what the movie is sort of trying to say. There's some sort of futility message there, where because everything they do, everyone does something. Like we'll start from in order, right? So like at the start when after the people have been massacred and he's trying to hunt these guys down, and he has like the rings.
Yep.
He puts the rings on for one reason, that's to lure them in, and he like. As soon as they're dead, gives them straight away. He
puts them in the mouth.
There's an irony there where it's like these guys could have easily just gone, "Hey, can we have your rings?" and he would have given them to them, but the conflict led to their death.
Yeah.
And so there's that irony there, and there's a bit of futility in their action. And then his whole journey is obviously futile and pointless, and it's like, why did he didn't even give a shit about it, and then he ultimately fails. And then at the end, he's doing this hero work, and he's freeing these people from their cave, and they get murdered immediately. And then I guess there's some sort of circle at the end because his son is now him. His son becomes,
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think that maybe there's something there. You'd probably have to do more work to make
Yeah.
it totally work, but there's something there, I think.
I mean, it's really interesting because the first there's clearly elements that you've got to look at in terms of the religious significance that the film's trying to say, because at the start, Hodorowski, his character claims to be God,
Yeah.
and is exacting this terrible vengeance and retribution upon all these people, and then he faces all these different masters of the desert who all have religious connotations to them. That's kind of the whole point in the second half, where he's meditating on those lessons, and that changes him. And by the end of that first half, he is no longer this powerful, epic gunslinger, and he
He's a
becomes this sort of
sympathetic god.
monk person who's completely, he could go into that village and waste everyone.
The
and he
irony,
doesn't.
he still
doesn't.
remains as the God figure, though.
Yeah, because
those
then
people,
the
they
disabled
worship
people
him as a
treat
god.
him like a god. But
I
it's
know,
a
but it's-
sympathetic god.
I know, but what I'm finding interesting is clearly, you could say perhaps that's how God's viewed sometimes. Maybe he's this terrible, all-powerful vengeance person, or he's this really sympathetic, he's out trying to collect money to dig a hole to save, the most unfortunate people in society. But at the end, he goes and exacts terrible vengeance and then kills himself.
Yeah.
And he got turned into bees, that whole bee grave thing. You could see
He had
in
like a
his
thing
grave
from
there.
each of them, didn't he? Or no?
Well, I don't know because the first guy, the
fire.
blind man that he killed, was the guy he found covered in bees.
There was
And he was covered in bees at the end.
and there was he burnt himself like the other guy's grave went on fire.
Perhaps at least
There was no complex
Perhaps at
geometric
least-
shapes though.
perhaps at least narratively, it's more like a death and rebirth kind of story because I was reading that when those two women betray him and leave him there, when they shoot him, I forget what the word is, but they shoot him in the places where Christ was stabbed on the cross.
Oh yeah.
So he gets shot through the wrists,
Yeah.
and he gets
And
shot
then the
through the
feet.
chest where he got, and then in the feet, and then something in the head as well. And that's how he's left. And then he's found like that.
Did Christ get impaled in the head?
They
He
stuck
had the
the
Oh,
crown.
the thorns. The
Crown.
thorns.
There's
Yeah,
the penetrate there, and then they stabbed him a couple of times, and then they put nails through his feet and his hands.
yeah, I know the hands. And yeah.
So that's all
that
that
is
happens
so
to his,
horrible. Imagine that being done to you.
that's all that happens
Should have
to
flayed him more.
the fuck. And then that's what happens to him. And then he wakes up and is like, it's like he's reborn. He's a different person. But I'm interested in that whole. That ending is what really is significant because he's become again what he was in his previous existence. But then when he dies, he's got the grave of the blind man. He's covered in bees.
what are
And
the
I'm
four
wondering,
lessons?
why is that? What's the deal?
Can we make that explicit? What are the 4 lessons? I want to. If we can't figure this out, I think it's almost essential that we know what the 4 lessons are.
4 lessons. I didn't have the greatest time with this movie. I didn't enjoy it that much.
But did you really enjoy The Holy Mountain?
I liked it a lot more than this.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I need to rewatch The Holy Mountain.
I felt the Holy Mountain dragged.
I was close to giving Holy Mountain a 10.
I don't think the Holy Mountain.
Rewatch?
Yeah, on a rewatch.
I liked the Holy Mountain more than this. I think my problem with this was I felt a lot of the symbolism redundant and unnecessary, and I feel like it blurs the message he was trying to give. There's certainly a message in there he's trying to make. And I feel like he's just conflating it too much with other shit that is just fucking cool looking, or filler. And I think it's frustrating when you're trying to determine meaning in something and there's so much other shit that is in there purely for like an artistic or an appearance image. I think he's the kind of guy that seems like he just wants to fuck people off, just piss everyone off, target everything, upset everyone. And I think
He's certainly controversial.
he gets off on that, I reckon.
sure.
I reckon this dude
Hence why,
likes fucking controversy and hate and people hating his shit and the attention it brings.
I don't know if it's
I don't think that's his-
necessarily in that
I don't think
manner,
that's
but
his primary goal.
I would agree that he enjoys people like
But that's
or not I think he enjoys being controversial because like for example I was saying the quote that he had earlier where he wants to rape Dune, some whatever the hell the quote is.
Yeah.
Like he could have easily said that in like a
Normal way.
like, oh, I wanted to take Dune and create a monster out of it, That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
But I think he just has that's just his style. I think whether or not you enjoy
I don't
that.
like it.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair because a lot of the time I think it's a bit excessive and unnecessary.
I was going to say perhaps the reason Holy Mountain may work better because I think Holy Mountain is a lot better than this. Is that the Holy Mountain has no plot
Yeah.
and it's fully open for have as much sort of crazy religious insane crap.
It's also just more refined
yeah, it is.
in the
It's more-
filmmaking
it's more
style.
streamlined.
This feels a little bit more.
But this one,
and also-
this one more or less has a plot. You are
Yeah.
watching him go from A to B. He has to do this.
It's
and
a
then
proper
he has to do this.
journey and it has
And
outcomes
but yet
and
it's still
resolutions.
filled with the crazy religious.
Yeah.
There's
great
also that
story.
very terrible phallic symbol of the rocks shooting up the water.
Yeah.
And it is literally like,
that was
oh
a
wow,
really-
that's a penis.
That was a really controversial.
Well, yeah.
Because she
we'll
was
get into
raped,
that.
right?
Yeah.
That's the idea.
So,
But he raped her.
well, he says he raped her. He says, in real life, I raped her. Yeah.
Oh,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, no,
Right.
that's what we're talking about. before
Oh,
the
so in real
podcast.
life he raped her.
That's what he says, but there's a lot of controversy around whether he did or not.
Let's just talk about this now.
Okay,
Yeah.
I don't imagine he actually did. Considering the way that he's used rape previously, I think
Exactly.
he means something stupid by it.
Because then the lady that
Like-
he rapes says she's been raped before.
I think I just was reading that
So
actually.
the quote essentially is he was saying that he had some sort of quote in a paper saying, "We went out into the desert this actress and I with like
And a camera technician.
with 2 crew members,
Yeah.
and I actually like raped her or whatever, and so that's why the film never kind of got screened. Especially nowadays, it's even more sort of shat on because of the Me Too movement, and like fair enough, of course. And they're saying obviously we don't want to show this movie where it has an actual scene of explicit sexual violence against a woman, but Hodorowski was saying that, of course, that rape scene is fake, but at the time he was saying that it was real so that he could get more publicity
And draw
for the
attention
movie,
to the film.
because he had, it was a shoestring budget and he needed a way to get the film out there, and so through controversy he thought was the best way to do it, which I mean it did work.
Yeah.
Well, so the quote is...
But you watched the movie, it looked so fake. I just did not believe it for
they
a
don't
second.
actually show much. They don't show any intercourse.
They don't show anything.
There's also the quote he has.
I really raped her, and she screamed.
Yeah, that's part of it. There's another quote here where she told me that she had been raped before. You see, for me, the character is frigid, meaning the woman is frigid until El Topo rapes her, and she has an orgasm. That's why I show a stone phallus in that scene, which spouts water. She has an orgasm. She accepts the male sex, and that's what happened to Mara. In reality, she really had that problem. Fantastic scene, a very, very strong scene.
Yeah, I read the whole thing. And then here in a 2007 interview, he told Empire Magazine, I didn't rape Mara, but I penetrated her with consent. In 2017, the artist said that he had made the statements to shock interviewers. So it is just purely...
I just think it's definitely just a weirdo.
Yeah, in 1970, it isn't beyond the realm of possibility.
Regardless, I can definitely understand the justification for, modern cinemas, especially due to the Me Too movement, to not want to show this kind of film. And that's something that's like important. Like if you're interested in watching this, there's like a very dark, very graphic movie. It's extremely violent.
There's a lot of blood.
There's a lot of blood.
A lot of dead animals.
A lot of real dead animals.
Reminded me of Cannibal Holocaust.
Yeah, I was going to say the same.
But I felt worse in Cannibal Holocaust.
Well, you see them actually die. You don't see any animals die in this except the birds.
There's so many fucking birds. They're all sleeper agents anyway.
But yeah, and
Cannibal Holocaust, you see like a turtle's head get hacked off.
Plus, this film is like, it's a good movie, and it's very artistic in a creative way. Cannibal Holocaust is bullshit. That movie is just, it's got no plot, no story. They just showed animals being killed and all sorts of crap to shock the audience.
Yeah.
It's some lazy shock horror bullshit, and it's an awful movie. This is not, and this obviously has tons of really fascinating things to look at. But it does feel, there are some choices in it that obviously today
don't age well.
I
had the same feeling specifically in The Holy Mountain. I'm trying to remember the scene, so forgive me if it's not a great recalling.
Unfortunately missed it.
With the kids, there's a bunch of kids who were naked. There's like an actual bunch of them.
On the mountain, at the very base of the mountain.
Is it in... I thought it was in a building, the way I'm remembering it. There's some scene in The Holy Mountain where there's more than one kid. There's like a lot of kids naked. And I remember thinking to myself, how was that allowed, first of all?
I'm pretty sure...
And second of all,
I'm pretty
why?
sure there's actually a few scenes. I'm pretty sure one, there's a scene where, at the very start, where they find the Jesus figure.
Yeah, and there's just naked kids running around.
There are people that descend on
the scene I'm thinking of, I feel like the
naked.
walls were blue.
I think
Is that in the gay at the base of the mountain?
I think that was in one of the planets sequences where they were showing a
could
particular factory or something, and there were a bunch
believe
of
it was a
naked
factory.
kids
Yeah.
working there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But the Holy Mountain, literally almost everyone is naked in that movie the whole time.
Good point.
That might be the movie with the most nudity and shit.
I had so much more fun with the Holy Mountain than this.
Well,
I think the Holy Mountain's a lot crazier though.
Yeah.
It really leans into his more Panic Theatre side, I think.
Because
the Holy Mountain is
done
cranked up to 11.
100 plays before he made his first film
He was I think he was actually quite famous theatre director.
in Mexico.
And a lot of his
I think in France.
because of the...
I think his I actually could be wrong, but I think a lot of his theatre was in France.
I digress.
I have no idea. It doesn't matter.
Because of the
Point is, that's a lot of prior experience.
Yeah.
the theatre, I think that's where his love and want for creative costumes, really well-designed sets, because that's so integral to the
100%.
theatre experience.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen a theatre play?
Yeah, I have.
Not in
I
person.
saw the
We had to watch one for drama back in the day.
Oh, yeah. I'd love to go to one.
I forget the name of the theatre one that I saw. I did see a live musical. I saw
Moulin Rouge.
I saw The Lion King.
Oh yeah.
The musical. That was
I think I've
that
seen
was
one of those
cool.
live.
Actually,
I
for
think
my
I saw, like,
18th
How to Train Your
birthday,
Dragons live.
for my 18th birthday, I saw Disney on Ice.
That's pretty dope.
Sounds like a fun party, bro.
Yeah, you guys were there.
Were we?
He's just false memory. Oh yeah, I was.
That sounds right.
Going back to El Topo, I feel like we've been doing that a lot. I feel like I have to keep going back. But anyway, I think it's an interesting thing here because he has been wanting to make a sequel.
He made a
The
comic book,
Sun
didn't he?
Yeah, it came
yeah.
out as a comic book.
But he has been wanting to make a sequel movie.
He's 95 now. It ain't happening.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't read the comics, so I don't know if this is going to change what I want to say. But I think the fact that he wants to do a sequel sort of builds on the idea of the sort of cyclical thing. And I think as well maybe the spiral has something to do with that. I don't know what that symbol is from, really. I'm sure it is from some religious context.
Spiral? Could it be the... It wouldn't be the golden...
I don't know. It reminds me of Avatar: The Last Airbender. The spirals with like the airbenders.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not that. Though.
I just felt, for me personally, at least there was enough in this film where I didn't get a chance to linger on the thoughts I was trying to develop.
Mm-hmm.
And also the fact that it was more so a Western, which is a genre I don't lean into that much.
I've not seen many
I
Westerns.
love it.
I know you
I
love
enjoyed
Westerns.
stuff.
I feel like
I
that's
love
majorly
Westerns.
influenced by your father.
Yeah, it is.
I think
it is.
my dad never really
Yeah.
raised me on Westerns. I've seen a couple, but A, I don't like that genre very much to begin with.
Yeah.
But B, like, I love being able to have some time to linger and breathe and develop my thoughts without immediately being showing.
But that's what makes El Topo a unique Western is because it's fucking nuts.
Yeah,
Most
but-
Westerns are long, slow shots of dudes just riding
But
horses. and
sometimes that's better. But this is trying to take on, I feel, so much, and there
think-
isn't the breathing
But I also
space.
think the problem with this movie is a lot of the symbols will feel like empty signification if you don't know what the symbols are. You actually like have to be an expert in a bunch of religious
that's- yeah.
it's
And
You've
like,
you both have read a lot more religion than I have.
yeah.
and I still didn't imagine I didn't pick up
Yeah.
on like anything.
I have to immediately jump into that and say that like even though Holy Mountain is weird and totally up for interpretation, I actually think it's pretty easy to follow along what's going on.
Oh,
And
yeah, the plot is simple.
all the planetary sequences all are essentially just different criticisms on the modern materialist world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's pretty easy to analyze.
And the ending is
some are-
literally him going, guys, this is the point of the movie.
Yeah, he
because
says
it breaks the fourth wall.
Yeah, it's like
because the whole thing is you don't need to try and look for the Holy Mountain. You
Yeah.
need to go out and find something yourself.
And it's
Yeah.
also a
this
thing
this
that
isn't the answer, you know.
Yeah.
it's also a thing that generally I talk about a lot more in my life than religion. Is just making jokes about capitalism and shit with my friends because it's funny.
Yeah.
It's a lot
Well, I
more in our face at uni and stuff.
But I think as well, it's just the time period.
Yeah, but I just felt this whole film my thoughts personally were overstimulated and underdeveloped, and it was frustrating. And I didn't
yeah,
like it.
I would say that's the
I
biggest.
felt I wasn't thinking enough at all. I sort of just sat there with
I
the
was
movie.
I really enjoyed the pacing and I was
Yeah.
enjoying the story, but I was seeing all these sort of religious symbols, especially the four gun masters, and I didn't understand it at all. I had no idea
You need
what
to place
any,
your heart where your head is.
I
I
had
don't know
no
what
idea
that
what
is.
any of them were supposed to represent, and I'm pretty sure that actually they're from different religions. I'm pretty sure
They
some
are.
of them.
Can we
four
try and
gun.
remember vaguely what their
So
lessons are?
the first one has
The first one's the
Sikh?
blind.
Oh, he's the one who's blind, but
Yeah.
he can kind
he
of
can
see,
see, and then he
his
gets
body is
killed
like
through-
impenetrable.
Yeah.
He gets killed through the
which is
trap.
at the end, he has that impenetrable because he's
Body.
getting shot and he just keeps going.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And he falls through the trap,
And so
that's how
is,
he gets
the,
killed.
is the dots supposed to is it
know.
Sikh influence?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure those dots was something to do with like those are the only places that he could be hurt.
Penetrated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aha, penetration.
Yeah.
Um,
And then the second dude is the second dude the geometric stuff?
so the second dude was the mum and the son.
Yeah, the geometric
yeah,
shape
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. With the lion.
Yeah, which is what?
Where didn't he just get shot in the back of the head or something?
It's the glass. His mum like steps on the glass and he's like, "Oh my god!" and then he shoots him.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
But his lesson to me seemed about like being because he was able to be very accurate and fine with his shot and
Yeah.
he could shoot like the one little bit of that complex thing and not destroy the rest of the structure.
Yeah.
And he could grab it and touch it, whereas El Topo touched it and it fell
Is
apart.
that like the little wood?
Yeah, there's little
You know
weird
what
like
that reminded me of True Detective season 1.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
But I'm not sure. Like that doesn't seem as religious to me.
No, and I don't see how that applied to the ending of the film
Yeah.
at all.
And then okay, well we'll
Yeah,
move on.
the third
Maybe we can
one
come
was the
back.
rabbit guy,
The rabbit guy, and
where
he said the heart and your brain need to be in different
Yeah.
places. I don't
and
really
he
know what
gets
that means.
and he gets shot. He said I only did one good shot him in the heart, didn't work.
Maybe that he put like the metal thing there. He like the guy shoots the metal. Where does he get the metal from? He has like a thing protecting his
Yeah.
heart, and maybe that's sort of like his brain being rational and smart, putting it there where his heart
Perhaps,
is.
yeah.
But
So-
that seems too simple.
I found a article here
Okay.
which claims the first master is Hindu.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah, could see that.
I also really enjoyed the two disabled guys being like attached.
That was
and,
cool.
and then being put back
Working
together.
Yeah.
That was really cool. I thought that was
See, that's
such
a great,
that was
that's
such
a great
an awesome
example of
imagery.
having disabled people in
Yeah.
the film in a really
And then the second master,
And together they're like totally competent, you know.
they have nothing on the second master.
Again, was the second master the?
That's the glass guy.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, so-
I had no clue.
You made me think of like
stands on the
Mongolians
glass.
or something.
The third master
I don't know
is
why though.
pre-Columbian American civilizations. The third master is Mexican master in every Western ever made. The Mexican is always the outlaw, the bad guy. In my picture, the Mexican is a very wonderful man because Mexico is a very wonderful culture. It's Hodorowski's quote.
Yeah.
Later, the third master shoots El Topo in the heart, but the bullet hits the ashtray and El Topo slays the master too. And the fourth master is Zen.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
The fourth master's he's so funny, bro. You don't need
That
anything,
whole
bro.
sequence was hilarious.
so it's really the
don't
second
need a
one that
weapon.
there's not.
What's life? I don't need like bang.
But that's it. Is like
You have
because
nothing you can take from me. I can take your life. What's
Because-
life? That's so funny.
Obviously, like when you watch The Holy Mountain, you kind of go into it knowing that it's about Christianity, and that's the only really religion that I know a decent bit about, and so all of that stuff made sense to me. But because at no point in the film did he offer any explanation or warning that these religions were involved, seeing all those gun masters, because the only religion I knew was Christianity, I was trying to apply Christian principles to those, and I was going, what the fuck does this mean? But there's no sort of moment where you're supposed to think outside of that box. Because again, I suppose I was approaching it also that this was done by the director of The Holy Mountain. And so I was expecting Christian stuff in it. And that's there was a lot of that at the start. There was a lot of sort of
There's a lot of
Christ
goats.
figures and stuff.
This would be the most amazing thing to have done in English extension. You
Oh,
literally
it's so good.
almost mentioned like the English extension author-centered text stuff, like
know.
the
Holy shit.
the implied author of the thing,
Yes.
and then
Yeah,
there's
that would have been.
like the discourse surrounding the author, how that affects your interpretation.
Oh, because of
Apply
he's a-
Lacan to this movie. Can you
I don't know if that
imagine?
would work.
psychoanalysis. This was before
I feel like
we
you
got into
could,
the
but I don't think that's
psychoanalysis.
necessary. I feel like that doing that would be the wrong move.
It'd start to get really fucking trippy though.
And I think you'd get so confused.
Well, on the topic of psychoanalysis, Lacan,
I did Lacan for Stalker and I got so confused.
Hodorowski.
You don't
is
understand
one of
Lacan
Lynch's-
until like 3 years into reading Lacan, and by that time you don't like Lacan,
Hodorowski
and you
is
realize
one
you
of
wasted your time.
Lynch's big influences.
Yeah, I could see that.
Lynch is like
Well, because Hodorowski
for
was
sure.
attests to Hodorowski.
For
as
sure.
well
The
as
original
quotes and-
surrealist.
Yeah.
I think Lynch does it better.
Yeah, but that's because
I
David Lynch is the top
haven't
dog.
actually seen much Lynch.
No one beats Lynch.
Lost Highway's next up for me.
He's a top.
Oh man, I love Lynch.
top
We need to
dog,
watch Inland Empire.
Yeah, we do.
Is it a film?
Yeah,
An Empire.
I mean,
is it-
none of
is
us
it-
seen it.
No,
most
I've
recent?
seen it.
2014. Or was that a fake number?
2006.
Well, actually, in 1984, June, we should watch June. FAP's screening of Lynch's June. Hodorowski and Lynch's June together.
We kind of do need.
I really wish you know the reason that Hodorowski's Dune didn't get made. He wanted to have.
It's going to be too expensive.
Yeah, but you know why it was going to be too expensive? Well, one of the reasons, at least.
He couldn't afford
Who's the
enough
artist?
dwarves.
Salvador Dali or whatever?
Yeah, the guy that does
The guy with the mustache?
Yeah.
And he's a truly eccentric guy. He wanted him to play the emperor, right? And he wanted to be the most paid actor of all time. And so he wanted this outlandish amount of money. And it was just insane. But Hodorowski didn't want to do the movie without him as the emperor, which was just...
Which is so dumb because the Emperor's barely in the story.
Yeah, in that story. But imagine Hodorowski literally would make his own movie.
Yeah.
It would not be
Dali
Dune.
died in 19...
I'm glad in a way that it would have been a wild movie, but my God, it would not have been Dune.
No.
What the hell? It would have been such a
So
bizarre
that's
movie.
Salvador Dali.
I don't even think Jodorowsky ever read Dune. I'm pretty sure he didn't. Like, he legitimately didn't.
It doesn't surprise me. He probably just heard the concept.
Well,
and went,
yeah.
Nice.
He would have heard the concept, religion. It's about religion. I'm doing it.
It's religion and worms, and it's,
Messiah figure. Boom.
they all do acid in the movie.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
The
No, I don't
spice, you know.
I would love to be able to go more into the, the
What we
symbolism.
need to do is we need to do some FAPS Twin Peaks screenings.
We should do that, yeah.
Have you both seen Twin Peaks? I've never seen.
I've finished the first season.
I've never seen
That's
it.
it.
I
Yeah.
really want Isaac to watch
I've only
True
watched the first
Detective
season.
season 1. That's my
Yeah, I'll get around to that
Isaac to
I've
on
watch.
the holidays.
I've seen that
Because
first.
I think you'll really like it.
I've seen the first season 5 times.
Yeah,
Yeah, Marlon was
I've
saying
watched
that
it
you said
over
it,
and
you
over and
reckon-
over again.
you reckon
It's
the best
fucking excellent.
season ever made.
It's the
of
best
series?
season of any show ever made.
I
in my
think it
opinion.
also
It's not
has-
my favorite show. But,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
I think it also would appeal much to Isaac's interests.
Yeah, well, you basically are Russ Cole, eh?
Oh, I wouldn't say that.
Well, not really. You're not as fucked up as Russ Cole.
But you'd find some things very interesting.
But Russ
Right.
Cole,
It's perfectly made.
the
Right.
two characters are one of them is a typical traditional Christian,
American Man.
you know, the most redneck kind of dude, and the other is this like extreme nihilist, hates everything, believes that humanity needs to just accept themselves into extinction. Like he says that people should just stop breeding and go into extinction. Humanity is a disease.
Right.
It's so awesome.
It's excellent.
We're not supposed to be talking about True Detective.
Back to
El Topo.
El Topo ratings go.
6.
That seems too high. I think you're being a coward.
No.
Really?
No.
Bullshit.
I think I watched it all. I liked.
You said you didn't like it.
No, I liked watching it. I didn't like thinking about it.
Right.
which is what I ironically I don't think I really thought about the movie too much beyond like the movie. what was
I had to
happening.
think about it. Otherwise, I would have fucking
I was just
completely
like
hated it.
I was just following the plot, like, oh, this guy's doing this, and obviously you have to understand the symbols in some way, but I was just kind of interpreting them basically in terms of how the plot was following.
Right.
I mean, look, I look at it compared to The Searchers, which is the only other Western we've done.
But you've also seen. Are you talking about ones we've just done
On the
Oh,
podcast.
okay. I was going to say you've seen The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Yeah. But I feel like this has at least enough in it to seem interesting. And if I watched it again, I'd be able to start developing those thoughts.
What did you
and
give The Searchers?
6 as well.
Oh, okay.
And I feel like
So
I honestly think that the first part of this movie, maybe like the first part, I'd give like a 9, but like
Yeah.
the second part, I don't know, maybe a 7. So it's together maybe like an 8. I think an 8 is probably fair.
I'm
You're on an 8.
5 borderline 6.
I just
6
think-
borderline 5. So
I think,
I'm gonna
uh,
stick at the 6 for now, and I'm
It-
never
it
going to watch
isn't
it
as-
again.
It's certainly not as powerful as The Holy Mountain.
no.
Not as maybe interesting in terms of beyond the film.
I think like I enjoyed it a lot, but it just wasn't. I wish it was more clear.
Sorry, so can we clarify?
Yeah.
6?
8.
8?
Uh,
Not clear.
So it's not. It's not. If it was more clear, and what I mean by that is just that it's so vague.
Yeah.
It could not be more
Yeah.
vague. It's like Lynch levels in terms of what the fuck. But Jodorowsky actually supplies answers, and you should be able to sort of decode it like you can decode the Holy Mountain fairly easily. Whereas Lynch purposely makes things that you can't decode because he never reveals the meaning.
And it's also kind of the point
He
It's
gets
kind of
off
the
at
point,
it.
you know.
because it's a dream.
So that
Thing.
part
The whole
does
lot,
like
yeah.
annoy me. And yeah, the second half I was finding myself kind of checking out a little bit, but I'm kind of the same. I enjoyed the first half a lot. I'd go 7.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
It's closer to an 8 than a 6.
Yeah.
You know, on rewatch, if I enjoyed it more like the pacing, perhaps it would be an 8.
I think, I would
gonna
love
go-
a remake of this movie.
No, a 7.
I would love a modern
It'd
remake.
be a lot cleaner.
I think it would be brilliant. I think the story, like, the idea is so fun. And I
Yeah.
think if you did, like,
Also, was your rip really fucking poor quality?
did you watch
I
it where I
rented it.
watched it?
High movies.
Yeah. Sorry.
I rented it. I had a 4K copy.
I thought mine was fine.
I felt it was like 480p.
Maybe you just didn't have your setting all the way turned
I
up.
had it the highest.
I don't know, maybe because I watch a lot of movies on a particular site, which I'm going to blur out so that,
Yeah.
we don't
We don't get in trouble.
get in trouble.
Smart man.
Nah, I don't know. Anyway.
No one watches this far into our podcast.
Yeah.
Don't say
No, but
Have you seen our stats?
I don't know. I didn't think it was so
It's like
bad.
average watch time 40 seconds.
I haven't seen our stats at all.
Yeah, you don't want to see the stats. Every time I look at them, I'm like, I go look at the stats. I'm like,
Jesus.
over a minute, boys.
We are our
Yeah.
biggest fans.
Yes.
What movie?
It's so true.
What movie is it that says I do my best work within 3 minutes? Where the hell have I heard that line? That's basically us.
Yeah.
Where did I hear that recently? I actually want to know. Anyway, I think that's it for El Topo.
All right.
El Topo for
Yeah.
now.
Topo.
Yeah.
I would like to in future be able to give it a better analysis, but I just don't think I have.
I definitely think I'll rewatch it. I'm definitely going to rewatch The Holy Mountain again as well.
I think
I want to rewatch that.
I'm looking forward to
so
watching.
annoyed I didn't get to
I want to
watch
watch
that, man.
more. Well, they're playing it again.
I'm doing it. When is it?
I'm not going again.
I'll go with you.
I think Nick,
figured out
on your
later.
topic of calling me a coward for giving it a 6,
Mm-hmm.
I think you're probably right in saying I could give it a 5. I wouldn't give it any lower than a 5, but I at least have a significant appreciation for the
I was more pulling your tail.
I know, but I have a fairly significant appreciation. It's not easy to make a film that fucking
that nuts.
strange in 1970.
You have to be
For
a guy.
sure.
You know,
Plus, it probably helps that John and Yoko liked it.
I don't really like John or Yoko.
Really?
I like their
Oh.
music. I don't like them.
Well,
think they're strange
I
fucking
meant
people.
more their music.
I know nothing about them really,
Yeah.
except
Just listen to the song ballad of John and Yoko.
I've got 3 of their records. Anyway,
can we
Nick,
talk about them after? I'll actually
We can talk
on the
about
podcast?
No.
or-
No, just after.
Yeah.
All right, so my pick. I am going to pick a film from a great director, Lars von Trier,
Oh.
and I'm going to pick Dancer in the Dark.
All
That
right.
is my pick.
I don't know the movie.
I've heard it's fucking good. I've heard it's depressing as
How,
fuck.
When's it from?
How much von Trier have I
2000?
seen? Have I seen only? Have I even seen any? I would have, right?
Yeah.
This
Have
is
you
supposed to be
seen-
one of his greatest.
Oh,
films.
The
Antichrist?
House That Jack Built is all I've seen. I
you haven't
believe.
seen Antichrist?
No, I haven't
Oh.
actually.
Yeah, so
It's got Willem Dafoe.
I've only seen I really like The House That Jack Built though.
yeah, I love that movie, and I've seen Antichrist, and that's all. And Dancer in the Dark's one of his earlier ones. It's one of his non-English films.
Excellent.
It's also supposed to.
Bjork in it, the actor.
Yeah,
Was
The
he excellent
singer, sorry.
ironic to non-English, Marlon?
No,
Was
it
that-
wasn't. I'm
Okay.
appreciating them more, Isaac.
Oh, that's good, man. That is inspiring.
it isn't it? Yeah.
That's sarcasm.
No, that actually. Well,
But alongside... Sorry, did you have anything more to say about Dancer in the
Well,
Dark?
no, just that it's going to be. I think it's going to be an interesting one. I've been really keen to watch more Von Trier films because I think he's a really interesting director, and this is one that I've heard a lot of people say is is an essential watch. Not just as a Von Trier fan, but as like a film fan. So, been wanting to see it for a while. I'm keen. Don't know anything really about it. Just sort of saw it and was like, "This will do."
Give me 1 second.
That's my pick, and now Marlon's going to talk about next episode.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
So alongside Dancer in the Dark, I believe, by Lars von Trier, we will have Mad Max Furiosa,
is that the title? Or is it Furiosa Mad Max?
Furiosa and
Something-
Mad Max
Something
Saga,
ridiculous.
the prequel to Mad Max Fury Road,
yeah.
both films set in Australia.
Sorry to interrupt, but without having seen Fury Road, is
Definitely what I
no,
wanted
no,
to see.
no.
Yeah.
Is Fury Road named after Furiosa? Is that her road? No, it's a serious question.
No.
So how is it a prequel then?
What the fuck? Because it's her name.
Is it about her though at all in the second movie
You mean the original?
or the original?
Yes,
Okay.
She is,
the main.
So I don't know anything about it.
The
Oh, so
second
she's
to
the main character.
Second to main character.
besides Mad Max,
Yeah, besides
Right.
Tom Hardy.
Oh right, okay.
who are on the Fury Road.
Yeah.
They drive on the Fury Road because the Fury Road movie is about car
Who named
chase.
her Furiosa, by the way?
Well, we'll find out.
One
Isaac had a
fucking
problem to
name.
pick with that in the ad before challenges.
Such a terrible
No.
name.
Trailer. But anyway, so Furiosa, Mad Max Saga, Dancer in the Dark, and I suppose, special third film for this upcoming episode because
There's fuck all coming
we
out. in the
couldn't
cinemas.
agree on a shit film to pick
Yeah,
for May because it's a quiet month and
Yes.
we didn't want to do Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
correct.
So given that May is the month of Star Wars, May the 4th be with you.
Just happened.
Yes, on the weekend, we have chosen Star Wars The Phantom Menace.
Yes, because
For
it's the
the-
25th anniversary.
Yeah.
Later this month. I think May 17 or May 19 is the 25th, the actual date.
And Phantom Menace is an interesting case, which we'll get into next episode, alongside Brisbane, Mianjin, upcoming director E.C. Lewin,
Yes.
a friend of ours that has previously sponsored this podcast, that
Yes.
we have gone to premieres of their films.
We reviewed one of their films on the podcast. I don't remember what.
And They Lived.
And They Lived.
No, I was going to say, I don't remember
Give
when,
another-
when that happened.
Oh, no, I was just throwing that in there so we had the name drop just
Sure.
if
Yeah,
anyone
yeah.
actually was interested.
And anyway, Elaine has considerable thoughts on the Phantom Menace.
Yeah. But they will also be watching the other two films.
Actually, speaking of And They Lived, isn't there like a significant discussion in that movie about
There
Phantom
is.
Menace? Or is
The
it just about Star Wars
no,
in general?
I think they mention the Phantom Menace,
Okay.
but it's about Star Wars in general, I
Yeah.
believe. But the documentary part of the anthology.
Yeah.
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 And Elaine, E.C. Lewin, will also be watching Dancer in the Dark and Furiosa with us. So it'll be a full podcast.
It's I think it's been something a long time coming.
Yeah.
Elaine's been involved in this podcast for a really long time. And the last guest we had was freaking Critic Kebab, which was like almost at the start
That
of
was
the
very
show.
long ago.
Elaine's probably our biggest supporter.
Yeah, and so I think
I'd
it's
imagine.
right about time, and I think it's special, especially to be doing the Phantom Menace, which I know will generate a great discussion to have them on the podcast. So it's something that I'm really looking forward to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So keep posted.
Yeah, it's going to be a big one.
Watch this
next
space.
month. Yeah.
Thank you all for listening.
Yes, thank you very much.
Another episode down, huh?
Go follow all the socials.
Yeah,
Go watch this
same old.
podcast for more than 1 minute.
Spotify, guys, it exists.
100th subscriber gets a present from Isaac.
Oh, not out of my pocket though. I think Marlon's paying for it. I'll give it to you. though.
Nick told me that if I said that, he'd pay for it.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
It's coming out of the FAPS bank, which is
FAPS
currently
bank account.
negative money.
No, we're up, aren't we?
Not anymore.
Oh well.
Well, if you guys actually subscribed and we got ad revenue, then we might do giveaways.
420 to go before we can start getting ad revenue.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's
So
go, guys.
Hurry up,
Thank
guys.
you all for
I
listening.
think we need a certain amount of view time though. So
Oh, we do. Watch the videos. Listen to the Spotify.
that's also
On Spotify, it is the Film Appreciation Podcast. We'll need to find a way to get the keyword search engine fixed. Thank you for listening. Hope all's well.
goodbye.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.